One greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for joining me. This is live number 3. This is pertaining to the white Elantra, Hyundai Elantra, that has been implemented in this case of the Idaho 4 student slangs. Where is this case going and when will it end? We now have introduced into this case the white Elantra. Could a woman be a suspect? Who's the stalker? It's been debunked, but is it true? Door open, door closed. Allegations from a neighbor. Cctv footage from area businesses and homes. Liars and fame whores. When will it end? Thank you for joining me. Vinny Politan. It's my next source, Court TV. Enjoy the ride.
I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us here tonight on closing arguments. We've got a lot to get to. And really the big question tonight is this it? Is this the big break, the clue, the evidence that's going to lead to an arrest in the murder in Idaho? Investigators keep asking for information about a white Hyundai Elantra. Each day we hear more evidence. Maybe somebody spotted it. What's going on? Is this the key? And the real question is, why hasn't the person come forward who's driving this thing? Give me a break. Give me a break. If you own a white Hyundai Elantra, and you are anywhere near Moscow, Idaho, pick up the phone. Make the call. Unless This is huge. Each day that goes by, in my mind, it's getting bigger and bigger. That this could be the break. That this is it. Because as long as this person is not coming forward, come on. You can't tell me if you live anywhere in Idaho or Washington State, anywhere in that area. If you were in Moscow, you know you're in Moscow, and you know what happened in Moscow, and you know what happened the night you were there in Moscow. They want information. Maybe you saw something. Maybe. Come on. Unless you don't want investigators to know who you are and what you were doing, why else would you not come forward? To me, it's common sense. The longer this goes on, unless this person just dropped off the earth or got in a plane and flew to some other continent somewhere, you know, your friends know what kind of car you drive. Why haven't they called up? Unless you don't have any friends. Maybe you weren't from the area. But you know that you were in Moscow that night.
Go ahead, man.
You know it.
You know it.
Time's running out. Investigators are on this. They're putting resources towards it. There is pressure, obviously, to solve this case. Number one, for the families, for a sense of justice, and then for the entire community for a sense of safety. That some mass murderer's not running around loose. So they know it's a 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra. Time's running out. They're going to track everybody down that has one of those cars. Might as well come forward now. Investigators are working this lead. They are working it, putting resources behind it, asking for more help from the public. And all those people that want to help are going through security footage. They're looking for, is there anything from that night, from that day, the day before? Trust me, they're checking everywhere. Anywhere where there's a camera around there, people are checking their footage, looking for that white car. All right, Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter joining us tonight. Where is she? Okay. All right. First, let's hear from the chief.
Through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
22,000 fitting that criteria. I didn't realize there were that many white Hyundai Elantras from 2011 to 2013. I think about 600,000 were sold in the whole country. Anyhow, let's bring in Chanley Painter. I was so excited. Chanley, great to see you.
Hold on a minute. How many he said was sold?
Registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
22,000 fitting that criteria. I didn't realize there were that many white Hyundai Elantras from 2011 to 2013. I think about 600,000 were sold in the whole country.
Woo, 600,000. Wow.
Let's bring in Chanley.
That's a lot.
I was so excited. Chanley, great to see you.
Oh, mercy.
What do we know about the tips for this car? To me, this thing is heating up. I feel like there is some sense of momentum here. What about the tips?
Yeah, I mean, the tips are pouring in, Vinny. Police saying they've worked overtime over the weekend, 24/7, trying to find the occupant or occupants of that Hyundai Elantra seen near the crime scene. We don't know how they know about this vehicle. They haven't released that many details, but they believe the person inside or the persons inside have critical information. And so we learned through a Fox News digital report on Tuesday that, yes, those local businesses, those working around the area are just pouring through their surveillance video. And so from this Fox News digital report, detectives collected 8 hours of surveillance video Tuesday morning from a gas station in Moscow where a clerk saw a white sedan passing by at 3:45 a.m. on the night of the unsolved stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, according to store workers. An overnight assistant manager told Fox News Digital that she's been reviewing the tapes a little bit at a time over the past few days, looking for clues in her downtime on the graveyard shift. She said she was not working on the night of the actual murders, but the car in this video from this gas station drove by real quick, she said, and turned down a side street off Highway 8. So this was huge, of course. I mean, this is someone working on their downtime, pouring through. This is how interested this community is in trying to find this white Honda Elantra, Vinny. And so let's put up a map so that our viewers can have a better sense of where this particular gas station is and where the crime scene is in Moscow. So we have, of course, the crime scene there. We've been there many times live in front of that. And then about 4 minutes, the route in red is about a 5-minute drive. There's a couple of different ways you could get to this gas station. On Highway 8 is the main road. And then you have a couple of side streets off of Highway 8, which is also called Troy Road in Moscow. There's East White Avenue and then Steiner Avenue, right there on the corner where that gas station is. So it's unclear exactly. I'm sure the authorities know the exact direction, Vinny. This car is seen quickly speeding by at 3:49 a.m. 45 a.m., the window of the murders. That's why this is so pivotal. And also, if you remember, when I was actually there in Moscow, I took my photographer down the road to show you the route from the crime scene to the closest gas station. Not this exact one where the overnight clerk found the video, Vinny, but the nearest, closest gas station to that crime scene, about 2 minutes away or halfway to the one where this white car was seen. And we, of course, still have that video of that location because that would have been the first major spot that I'm sure police went to and confiscated a lot of their surveillance video because it is so close to where that home is where those 4 students were murdered. So here you can see on one side of the screen, as we pass the crime scene there, on the left side of the frame, we're exiting a dead-end road. We're pulling out. It's very residential. A lot of students. Right here, you can see the campus. There's the Sigma Chi house right there in the shot. At that intersection across the street, there's Band Field, where we've seen a lot of body cam video from. On the night of the murders, we're passing on the left side. And then you move campus on one side, on the left side, neighborhood apartments, homes on the right side, off-campus housing. And we continue down this main road until you reach that main gas station that we showed you. That was the closest one. Do they also have video of this white sedan? We don't know. Police aren't saying, Benny, but it is pivotal that they have this new clue that was revealed through that Fox News digital report.
And Janley, there's the gas station. We can see it right now. The direction that the white car is seen on Highway 8 on Troy Road, significant, because if it's seen, in what would be consistent in going away from the quadruple murder, would be very telling, very telling. And you're looking at the time, 3:45 in the morning, 3:45 a.m., all of it fitting together to a certain extent. And turning down a side street, I find that fascinating, turning down a side street. That could mean someone from the area if you're going down a side street. But if you've got 22,000 that they're looking at, I'm sure they can narrow that number. We're going to talk to our investigators about that in a minute. But speaking of investigators, how many investigators, officers are working this case right now? Janley, do we know?
Ladies, I'm going to show you the best method.
Sorry about that. They had a brief intermission. Who's driving this Elantra? Who's the tipper? And what is the relevance? Is this the suspect or what? Stay woke.
I lost temporarily.
I think we lost connection to Janley Pater. I've got some numbers up there. 6 detectives, 5 support staff, communications team. That's from the Moscow Police Department. Let's see what other resources they may have. Federal Bureau of Investigation, 46 investigators in Moscow located throughout the United States. So they're not all out there. 2 behavior analysts, unit investigators as well from the FBI. And from the state police, 13 investigators, 15 uniformed troopers assisting with community patrols for safety and ISP forensic services. Janley is back. We have reconnected. You've got all these FBI, but I'm still looking at those numbers. And when I do those numbers and I look at 22,000 vehicles, my head explodes. Like that's tough math.
Yeah. It really is, Vinny, and they do want to make clear because there were reports that said maybe they were scaling back the resources a little bit because, again, it's been over a month and there's public fears, family frustrations of the victims that this may be going cold or they are dedicating the same amount of resources. So it is apparent each press release, they want to make sure that they're telling everyone through what you just read that they have the same amount of resources working on this case even over a month later, trying to pour through all of these, tons and thousands of tips, as you know, and these 22,000 vehicles, this search area that meet the criteria. Remember, this is on the border of Idaho and Washington State. So some of these white Hyundai Elantras, they're looking at it from Washington State too because it's so close by, and that just expands the area that the pool that they're looking for. But they have a lot of out of town FBI, law enforcement agencies there, and they rotate in and out, Vinny, and they just keep trying to affirm to everyone that they have an army of analysts on all sides working this 24/7.
And the other part of the army should be the public, and I think the public is there trying to provide any information that they have. Let's talk about the family of one of the victims, Xana. Her family has now released some sort of statement.
Yeah, that's right. So her cousin, Sheldon Kernodle, has been vocal. I know that you will remember when I was there several weeks ago in Moscow that we caught up with search parties that he helped organize over the weekend. One weekend we were there, they walked through fields on campus. They handed out dozens and dozens of posters that are hanging all over town. He has, again, posted publicly that they're going to spend this next week, within this next week, he says that there are going to be over 5,000 of those posters, of those flyers that we showed you, trying to spread the word. They're going to be back, boots on the ground, because, again, the family's growing frustrated in this process, trying to encourage the community to come forward and to with any of these tips, right? Also, Sheldon Kernodle has announced on his social media, again, this is the cousin of a 20-year-old Xander Kernodle who was brutally stabbed, that the family, Kernodle family, is actually starting a memorial endowment with the University of Idaho in Xana's name to honor her memory, keep her legacy alive. And they're going to be funding scholarships each year for the University of Idaho students. And the Kernodle family will match dollar for dollar donations up to $10,000. That was the big announcement in her honor, which I thought was very significant. And just an aside note, because I, even if I'm not always able to be there on the ground, right, as we follow this story, we've talked to so many people there. And remember Jeremy Reagan, the neighbor, lives in the apartment building right next to the crime scene. Keep in touch with him. And just an update on him, because online sleuths were pointing the finger at him. He says that he's doing better. But he's getting recognized in public. But he said it's nothing negative, since we were one of those outlets who helped put out the story, why he's fighting that. He had nothing to do with this. He just wants to help in this investigation, Vinny. So that's a little update as well.
Like so many others, except the driver of the white Hyundai Elantra, who doesn't seem to want to help.
Listen at Vinny. Lord have mercy.
Stand by, Chad.
Except for
our guest in Nashville, Tennessee, retired sergeant for the Nashville Police Department, Melissa Pinkleton, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, private investigator Jason
Got
Jensen.
a woman up here. All right.
Melissa, I'm looking at this white Elantra. 0 to 10, how significant? I'm like at a 9.5 right now, about to hit 10 on how significant this is. But I look at that number, and then I hear a number of 22,000. How on earth do you approach or tackle that number?
I'm like you. I'm at about an 8 or 9 with this, and they need to stay on it, and but also not get such tunnel vision that this is the only way that they're going, the only way that they're looking. As far as narrowing it down goes, I would hope that they would start with anybody registered to that vehicle who already has a criminal history, start narrowing those people down first, making a list of those people. Anybody who fits the suspected, I know that they had an analyst come and, a behavioral analyst, and what kind of age this person is. I would hope they would be focusing on those ages to get a list of those people through, and kind of knocking the cars out one by one like that.
Jason Jensen, what are your thoughts about the fact that this car is driving at a rapidly, then turns down a side street? Not like hitting the highway and hitting the road, getting out of town, but going down a side street.
Well, from what I see from the footage from the X on it, really does look like it's heading east on Highway 8. So I would be focusing on any Elantras that are in the Cornwall, Avon, or the Troy areas, which are east of Moscow, or even further east is Missoula, Montana. So I'd be looking in the direction of travel.
I'm wondering if there's, Melissa, is there any way, and I don't know if our cars are all being tracked, if Big Brother is tracking us all the time. I just don't know. Is that possible? Is it maybe reaching out to Hyundai to see if they will cooperate? I know it's not a new car. It's 10, 11 years old, potentially. What are your thoughts about that approach to all this?
I think that's a great approach to it. I mean, as we all know, we're always being watched, listened to, heard, filmed. Anytime you leave your house, you're on a camera at least 100 times, whether that's just audio or video or both. And I think it would be a great idea to get together and especially to get together with them to see what, if it's an SE or an ES, there's different models of the car.
Very true.
Let's
Very true.
work on getting down to the exact model of the car, because that could knock out a lot of the 2200 that we're looking for right now.
2,200, 600,000 plus sold. So I'm wondering, is that 600,000 of that year? Because we don't even know the actual year. And as she said, SELE, all of that. What a mess. Court TV content uploaded 4 hours ago. Let's chop up what was said by Vinnie Politan and guess. So many cars to look at. Idaho, Montana, dear God, where are we going? Washington State, outside town, suburbs of this Moscow. So where is the car? Is the car in the city limits or outside the county or farther out? How many states out are we talking? Imagine trying to find 22,000 cars, talking to 22,000 people. This is why you do release the car, because people see cars every day. People notice cars. So once a person puts out this APB on that type of makeup of car, people are watching and listening all over the United States. So it's not just going to be Moscow, Idaho, Washington. You're going to hear this all over New York, Florida, wherever, because we don't know the perpetrator. We don't know how far this car has traveled into Idaho in this town. Who is the perpetrator? Is this the perpetrator or this is a witness? Let's start there. Perpetrator or witness? Who gave the tip? How many tips came in on the car? Where was the car in proximity to the house? Up there behind, we're going to bring you content pertaining to that. Nancy Grace, I kind of like some stuff that they were chopping up with her and her guests pertaining to the perfect place for that car to have sat was up there at the apartment complex that sits to the right of the building, of the house. Easy target, easy way to watch. Go down the backside of that hill, enter into that sliding glass door or windows. We're in. Perpetrator in. Do your funny business, back out, go back up that hill, jump in your car, and leave. Bingo card. Did the perpetrator park back there? Who called in the tip? Why did they call in the tip of the white Elantra? It has been known in many true crime cases that when they give you a make of a car, it is the perpetrator, not a witness. They never tell you that this is who we think is the perpetrator. They say, we are looking for someone we think may have information. We are looking for an eyewitness. We think this is the eyewitness. In actuality, they believe it's the perpetrator. It was done in the DC sniper case. I will always use that case as a reference to how the police will deceive the public to catch the killer, and it worked. Because somebody did make out the car that the sniper was in, assuming it was a witness, and it was not. Thank you all so much for joining me. Witness or perpetrator? In the city, out of the city. States over, Midwest, East Coast, down south, up north. Who's driving this Elantra and what is the relevance to this case? Where was it parked? Proximity. Why did the person call in the tip? One tip, more tips. What's the relevance? Thank you for joining me. Let's get to our next source. I've got many titles up there. Woman suspect, stalker, door open, CCTV, liars, fame whores, those making up stuff. You're hearing a lot of stuff about a certain YouTuber making up audio. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, but I knew you were rotten when I listened to your content a week ago, if we're to call it content. The way you are throwing out all these different people as these other goofy-ass people making up stuff and throwing out people's government names as suspects, that is the wrong thing to do when you do not know if they are the killer or not. You don't do that. You don't do that. So I knew before this audio business, you were fraudulent because you just run with anybody's name and make a video about it. And some of you are foolishly following in behind these people and logging on to anything that they say pertaining to a suspect. Now you have a white Elantra. Guess you're going to say what? Jack, one of the Jacks owns an Elantra? Don't you think by now somebody would have told that and that would come out? But you can't tell you nothing. because you all, some of you are followers. You believe anything that's said, and you spit it as knowledge, and it's not truth, because nobody knows but the perpetrator. Let's get on with this business. Please take the virtual tour from our channel of the house. $22,000 car records. That's a lot of cars. Check out Law and Crime, the family's lawyer speaking about the car. I don't know if I want to play that content just yet, but please go to Law and Crime. He's speaking there pertaining to the car. I do believe there's some rift between the family and Goncalves and this the Moscow Police Department. They're not getting news of anything, and it's also been alleged that they got the news via the news pertaining to the Elantra. So Moscow did not contact them to tell them about the car. Interesting. I'm going through all my sources to decide what I want to play as far as uploading content. The family thinks the case is going cold. News Nation is the source. Thank you all so much. Anything I don't mention in this live, it's on my community board because I have to try to utilize my time sparingly of what content I want to play pertaining to the title. Thank you so much for joining me.
From a press release. Yes. Yes. Did they send you the press release? No.
That's the mother of Kaylee Gonsalves. She, along with 3 friends, were stabbed to death at their apartment at the University of Idaho. Police there face withering criticism, as you just heard, from the families and the community over an investigation nearly a month old with 0 suspects and no person of interest. The only public lead, a request for information about a white sedan without a license plate, allegedly seen in that area. Brian Hinton right now in Moscow, Idaho. All right, this just seems as though the police, I mean, if you can't even tell the families ahead of time, what's going on here?
Yeah, the families have been frustrated, Leland. They say there's been a communication breakdown. They want accountability with the police department. You heard them there. They've been saying for days that they're not getting information, that the media is getting information before they do. I think there is just more and more anger. I mean, it's not been more than a month. You had 4 college kids stabbed to death in the house behind me. It's been more than a month, and there's not even any suspect information that's been released.
I got 30 or 45 seconds. When does this case go cold? And we just sort of say that it's one of those things.
Well, they're insistent, the police are, that it is not cold. They say they're getting tips every day. They say there's a lot of information they're not sharing with the families or with the public. I mean, over at the police station, there's a massive, big FBI mobile command center in the back of the police station. There's 24 FBI agents here. So the hope is there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we just don't know about. But again, no suspect information. They're still just pushing every day that they're looking for that white Hyundai.
Yeah, of which there are, 22,000 registered white Hyundais around. Hey, if there's any reporter I know who would figure out what's happening on behind the scenes, it would be you. That's where our money is. Brian, keep up the great work. We'll talk soon. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to
News Nation is the source. 22,000. So is that 22,000 in Idaho, the whole state of Idaho, or the general demographic of states nearby? Because Vinnie Politan mentioned 600,000 total sold. So is that total Elantra sold from what year to what year? This is where I'm getting confused. Versus 22,000 versus 600,000. Once again, perpetrator, suspect versus witness. Who called in the tip of the Elantra? Why did it just now come in? Have they always known about this in the beginning of the investigation? What's going on between the family and the police department? Do you believe it is, what is the word I want to use? Inappropriate not to notify the family that they have a witness and or suspect in the Elantra? I believe they're not talking to the family about anything because of Mr. Gonsalves' overt commentary pertaining to wounds, targeted, stalker. They don't want to tell him anything because he doesn't know how to bring out his verbiage correctly. He doesn't know how to talk. You may disagree with me, but he doesn't. Mr. Gonsalves is mourning and grieving. He does not know how to articulate his words properly. They're already disputing some of the things that he's been told by the coroner. Allegedly, people are having difference of opinions pertaining to the coroner's credentials, and what the coroner told him is not accurate. You're entitled to your opinion, but I believe this is why the police department are not talking to him and the wife. And how do the other families feel about him being so overt in his commentary? Because once again, there are other children who were murdered. Those kids did not die from one stab wound. All of them were butchered, in my opinion. Rather, one got stabbed up more than the other. Who cares? They're dead. The kids are dead. They're not coming back. So it's disrespectful to go on and on about one kid. 4 kids lost their lives. And I want to make that clear during this live stream. The focus need not be on one person. 4 people died in that house. Rather, 1 was the target, 2 was the target, all 4 were the target. They are dead. They're not coming back. And all need respect deservingly, equally. Because the motive doesn't matter. It only matters because we're curious to who the perpetrator is and why. But to keep listening to Mr. Gonsalves, you're going to get sidetracked. You're going to get sidetracked because you've got to explain how would the perpetrator know to come to that house when the girl hadn't even been living there. Stay woke. So you got to decide random, targeted, happenstance. It would have believed Kaylee was the target. And I no longer want to keep talking about her as if she's the only one that was there. And that's how Mr. Gonsalves talks about his child. It's as if she was the only one stabbed. She was not. The killer didn't have to stab any of them. How about that? But he chose to. So that's what the focus needs to be. He killed all of them. And when you take my virtual tour, bells should be going off in your head if you take that tour. That's why I reshared it on my community page. If I'm to believe that those kids, Ethan and Xana, were in the room facing over the street, the parking lot, that means the killer went and looked in the first room near the stair landing first and didn't see anybody. He still had to navigate through the dark. Listen very carefully what I'm saying to you. If all lights are off and nobody's up on 2nd or 3rd floor, the killer is walking through a dark house. My tour doesn't show you much furniture. Common sense will tell you the kids had furniture in the house. You are navigating in the dark, not knowing what you're going to step on. A rat, a cat, a dog, a billy goat, shoes on the floor. Stay woke. And if the children are not on the 2nd floor near the stair landing, the next room is around the corner from the kitchen. So what would make you go around that corner on the 2nd floor if your target ain't on the 2nd floor? So then we have to decide the sequence and the order that the kids were killed on the 2nd floor. Killed first or killed second? See, we don't know. Naturally, a blood trail should show who was killed first, either the girls on top or Xana and Ethan on the 2nd floor. Stay woke. Let's get on to new commentary pertaining to this riveting case, because there's a lot going on. News Nation was the source of that information. Got a lot to bring you. Just bear with me. We got somebody deciding they want to come forward, works at a vape shop. You're entitled to believe if he's telling the truth or not about Kaylee and the girls talking to him about a stalker. Sounded like Maddie was the one conversating about a stalker. Let's see what he has to say. News Nation is the source. This was uploaded 18 hours ago. But know that this is not the vape shop that investigators went to originally. So obviously some other kids like to smoke. Oh, Lord, this is getting ridiculous now. Brian Enton is on the case of this information. Yes, he is disregarding the other victims, and that's not fair.
Manager actually knew Kaylee and Maddie. They had been there 6 or 7 times, and then he had a lot to say about the potential of this stalker. Listen to what he told me.
So Kaylee and Maddie would both come in very happy, very friendly. You know, they always were just such a smile on their face. Just like, pretty much you would say they're the light of the world, pretty much. You know, always happy, go lucky. They always came in just chatting. They always came with a group, like I said. They probably, I'd say 4 or 5 girls at most, all the time. They come in together. And I made a joke about it earlier. It was like, hey, coming together and stuff like that. It's nice to see you girls trying to stay safe. One of them more or less openly says, oh yeah, we've had a friend of ours be stalked before, so this is kind of why we all travel in a group like this. And just
was it Kaylee who said that? Do you remember?
No, it was Maddie who actually said that. So Maddie said it, and it was kind of like more than mentioning, like motioning to Kaylee too, like who was right next to her. So you could tell that like they obviously all were trying to keep Kaylee safe, and be there for her as good friends. And then to know that a few weeks later,
if this conversation is truthful and factual by this guy, was Maddie speaking of Kaylee or one of the other girls in the group? There were 5 girls living in the house. So how many girls were in the store at this time? Who was Maddie referencing? Kaylee? Xana? Or the other 2 roommates? I don't remember their names. I don't like mentioning their names on the live stream. Or were there other girls? What's the truth? Because we got a lot of fame whores and people wanting to be seen. In this case, we also have another scream queen crying about hearing a scream that night, which makes no sense because, as someone said, with the guys that were cited for underage drinking, you could vaguely hear a scream in that commentary that Vinnie Politan has played on Court TV. So there's no way if you could vaguely hear a scream in that background where those guys were being cited for underage drinking, how the hell could nobody hear the scream inside the house or next door? You've got all those houses right next door in an apartment complex. And that fraternity house, an area where those boys were being cited by the police, that's a nice little stretch to hear a scream inside of a closed house with windows and doors closed. Could have been anybody screaming. But as I said, I heard a faint scream. Some people say they didn't hear the scream in that audio that Vinnie Politan played, if you believe that it's truthful and factual. But I don't know. Right now, I don't know what to believe. But we're going to finish this interview here.
a few weeks later, now I won't see them, anymore, anything like that. So it's
So
crazy.
how long before the murder about was that?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks beforehand, because I was telling them I hope they had a good Thanksgiving break and everything like that too, because I didn't know if I'd see them again. So with a lot of the times with the kids, with the way after the pandemic, some of the kids leave and wave. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to see you this weekend or not. Hey, hope you have a great Thanksgiving with your family. And that was the last I saw them.
Did they elaborate any more on the stalker comment?
They more or less kept making the comment that it always seemed to happen either by the campus or down on Main Street. And the last time the Kaylee more or less made it sound like it seemed like it was down on Main Street, and that the person who was coming from around the Corner Club area, and then as far as I remember, it's the guy who ended up trying to go and talk to her, and then he gave up on it and he ended up walking away. So she thought she was being stalked up to a certain point, and then looked behind her and he was no longer behind her. So
I just want to make sure I get it right. So
yeah.
Tell me again exactly what you remember.
Just more or less, I made a joke about them being in a group, and they just said, one of our friends and motioned to Kaylee that she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not just a one-off thing, that this is apparently something that Kaylee had tons of issues with. Apparently she always had somebody who's constantly walking behind her like that. So, and it was more so at nighttime when they were out there drinking, stuff like that. Because I asked them, is it at school? And she's like, no, when I'm at night, going out to the bars or coming back from the bars. And again, living down that way.
Did she specifically mention the Corner Club?
Not the Corner Club, but just in that general direction and stuff like that. So the only reason I would assume the Corner Club is because that's the only bar that's not in that area anymore now. So we used to have two. One was CJ's and then the Corner Club. It's just Corner Club now. Then a whole block before it mingles. So.
How many times did you see Kaylee and Maddie? How many times would they come in the store?
I'd say, now that I'm trying to think back in my head, I've only saw them maybe 6-7 times total. So I say probably since the start of this beginning of this year.
So we know that police have looked into the possibility of there being a stalker. Latest we know from police is that they've never found anything to corroborate there actually being a stalker. They looked into an incident, Ashley, you might remember, from mid-October from a business downtown, and said there was nothing there that they could figure out that it was actually a stalking incident. We're not sure if that's the same incident that Kaylee and Maddie were talking to the vape shop manager about, but certainly interesting to hear him say that.
It seemed like he had spoken with them multiple times and about that topic multiple times as well. What about surveillance video from his shop, that manager? Was he asked for it? Does he have any? Would it be helpful anyway?
Yeah, so he says police came to his shop a couple of days after the murders, and the video had been deleted there. He doesn't have cameras on the outside, but I guess they were still interested in video on the inside since the girls had been there so many times. But like so many other stories that we found, the video deletes after a week or two.
What about the police? Did he tell the same story to the police that he told you?
He says yes, and he mentioned that he has called the tip line, and also that the police had been in the store. So it appears that they are aware of the story.
Well, that's incredible because they had been saying that they hadn't found anything to corroborate it. And that sounds awfully like that fella heard them talk about concerns multiple times. Okay, thank you for watching. Go to newsstationnow.com.
All right, you all play nice in the chat because we don't know the victims and we don't know what was going on. I'm trying to use my commentary very delicately as not to accuse anyone that is a victim of being a storyteller or fabricator. But could it be that she has exaggerated being stalked? Let's be truthful. As the father has said himself, Mr. Gonsalves, that he could see, people following the girls, wanting to talk to them. They're pretty girls. They're nice-looking girls. All of them have their own distinctive look about themselves. Each person can be attracted to each one for his or her own reasoning. So could it be that she just noticed every time she goes out, she's got somebody following her around, she and the girls? I don't know. They're nice-looking girls, so I don't doubt that people wanted their attention, wanted to talk, wanted to flirt. You factor in alcohol. Guys can be very boisterous in their advances and also derogatory. So who knows? But if they can't find anything in messengers, IG accounts, apps, perhaps her stalking was just limited to when she went out. Guys saw her out. She's looking hot to them, so on and so forth. That's a natural thing. A guy making a pass, advances, trying to flirt, trying to get his stuff on. Trying to see if he can score for the night or just get a phone number. It is what it is. So what is the truth to what this guy has to say? Is he being factual about the girls' conversations with him? And as we have said, sometimes we use the words lightly when we shouldn't. It's not good to say stalker because somebody might think you're telling the truth. And really, you're just saying somebody's being a nuisance, but they're not harassing you. They're not showing up to your house, your car. They're not in Messenger. They're not, you understand what I'm saying? They're not following you classes. So did these people or any guys show up to the classes, the house, work, follow them to the car, stood outside the car, parked outside of cars, parked outside of the house? That's when you have a stalker. Once a person has made contact to different places you go more than once, then you could say you possibly have a stalker. You take pictures, you see the same person in the background. Did any of the girls have someone showing up to jobs, classes, leisure activities, the home, parking near the home, bumping into them a lot? What's the truth? Thank you all so much for joining this live stream. Oh, this case is ridiculous. I don't know what to think anymore. As all these people start coming forward talking, you just don't know what to think. He said, she said, Jesus wept. Prayers for answers. I'm praying this white car is the answer to the question. That was News Nation pertaining to the shop. What will the victim's tech tell us. Please listen to this information very carefully about the watch Kaylee was wearing, because there were some very valid points made about whatever you call it, Fitbit watch or whatever. This thing obviously is has a mind of its own as far as relaying information. What will her watch or anybody else's watch tell us about the whereabouts of the kids that night? Did any of the kids die with their watches on? We're going to chop up that information because this is probably the best content I've heard dealing with the murders of these kids as far as evidentiary material. News Nation is the source, uploaded 18 hours ago. Thank you for joining me. Please take notes, because now you'll know what these watches do and don't do.
I'll listen to you, even to solving the murders in Idaho. Police have not yet said whether they've managed to root around inside all the victims' phones, but thanks to this Daily Mail photo that was taken through one of the windows of the murder scene, we do know that the home probably had Wi-Fi. We've also seen several photos of laptops, computers, and now after going through the victim's social media...
Good Lord, through the windows.
We also know that at least one of the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, had a smartwatch. And in this day and age, it is more than possible that the kids had a virtual assistant in the home. You know, like an Alexa or an Echo. Those things somehow listen to you even when you don't want them to. Often what is heard is actually recorded, and there's a file that can exist in the cloud of everything you said, even if you don't know it. And all of these devices, these modern conveniences, are constantly listening and recording everything that's going on in our lives. So what might they reveal about the murders that happened in that house, or the murderer who went through that house? What could this tell the police? I'm joined by Jake Green. He is the digital forensics technical lead for Invista Forensics. He's assisted over 20 law enforcement agencies with more than 1,300 cases. Jake, you're the perfect person to talk about. I want to just talk first about the Apple Watches. We saw one on Kaylee. It is more than probable that the other kids, the victims, might have had one as well. And those things are a trove of information. So tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly about an Apple Watch and when investigators come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So not only just the Apple Watch, but when we think of like the Google Watches as well, and Garmin Fitbits and those things, the watches themselves can operate without a cell phone, or they can be tethered to a cell phone. So we've got those two different pieces. Those watches can be used for communications, listening to music, viewing photos, and even the health applications that can track heartbeat, resting heart rates. And
let me make a point. One of the chat members is talking about, Susie, thank you for bringing it up. The focus of the two girls being pretty, the blondes, the father always saying how pretty they were. Yes, they were, depending on the eye of the beholder. Some would say that Xana was a pretty girl. There are pictures in here that I've seen her just now that she doesn't look like the photos we've seen uploaded, because naturally you look different in different photographs. But let me say this, in this News Nation clip, you will see pictures of Kaylee with the watch on, but she's a brunette. Her ends are more of an orangey brown tint to them, but the roots are dark, very dark. She is naturally a brunette. So she looks different as a dark-haired girl versus a high blonde, platinum blonde. Stay woke. So the focus needs to be on all of the children. Not who's pretty, the prettiest, because there is too much talk about the two blondes. Not natural blondes. One ain't. That's Kaylee for sure. Not that it matters, but it does matter. Because there's too much damn focus on those two, and it's disrespectful to Xana and Ethan. They were alive at one point, no matter the motive or the target, random or not. They all were human beings. So we need to stop focusing on the two blondes. It is disrespectful to the other two. It's very disrespectful, and I'm sure their parents don't appreciate it. And they probably don't have the guts to just go up to Mr. Gonzalez and say, hey, knock it off. We get it. You think your child was pretty. You should. You're the father. But my baby's dead, too. And I got a feeling he's going to cause a rift between the parents because he won't shut up. And he feels like, what? He's the only one grieving, but he's not. Somebody else lost their child. The Chapins lost a triplet. So 2 kids are without a triplet. That's why you all got to focus. Because you're starting to get lost in the rumors and the rhetoric and all this nonsense of Stalker, this and that. We don't have verification of nothing. I don't know if this case is about who looked nice and who got rebuffed and couldn't get a date, or I have no idea. And as I said, you'd be shocked to find out if the killer was angry with one of these kids because they were mean to him. Could not even be about no damn looks. Maybe somebody was nasty to somebody. Because usually when people kill people, that's how a lot of people have gotten into the cemetery. If you watched my last live stream, allegedly this man is dead because of a dice game of trick dice and slapping a man in the face for calling him a bitch. Just understand that people die for a multitude of reasons. It don't have to be what you think it's about. Let's finish this commentary.
Heart rates and really show us even a potential of time of death when the heart stops being detected.
I mean, that could literally be the exact time of death because those things do record and they often call you. Like 911 will call you to say, we detect your heartbeat stopped. Are you okay? Do you need us there?
Absolutely. And the other important thing to remember is that if it is tethered to a phone, we may have notifications on that device that tell us when these emergencies happen.
Of course, you'd have to be wearing it at that moment. And I know, many people take them off at night to charge them. Not everybody, but some people do. Okay, the other thing I want to ask you about, and this is a little graphic, but it's important to the facts in the case, and that is that the coroner, has revealed that, something we all know happens, that the victim's hands were all bagged, and that's to preserve evidence under the fingernails, etc., for the autopsy. But does that mean that if they had an Apple Watch on, it didn't come off?
So in my experience from law enforcement, we would have left a watch on, regardless of if it's a smart watch or if it's a regular timekeeping watch. That's something that we're going to want to review: the clothing, the trace evidence that we can find. Those pieces would be reviewed, not in a crime scene, but when we get back to a morgue and actually run through an autopsy. We're going to document the clothing, we're going to document those watches, and then at that point, with proper lighting and we can see exactly what's going on, we may try to transfer that watch to take it to a lab to be able to pull the forensics data off of it.
Well, that all sounds very smart to be a preservationist about it all. But I also know that sometimes this stuff is so digitally delicate that if you take a device out from its source of Wi-Fi or its connectivity, some of that stuff can be lost. So I'm just imagining the body being taken out of that home, and then the autopsies a few days later. The watch lost its connectivity. Did it lose important data on the way out of the home in the ME's truck? And then B, is it possible that the watch would be out of batteries and dead in a couple of days, and thereby lose data as well?
That's exactly right. If we don't properly preserve evidence, we can lose everything. Especially with cell phones. If that phone is in what's called an after first unlock state, we have a much higher likelihood of getting into that device than if it is to power itself down because of the loss of battery. So being timely in our efforts to recover evidence, especially in cases that we do have a deceased person, we don't know the possible PIN for the phone. In the past, we've used the decedent's fingerprints to unlock a device. So those are all things that could have happened here, even the facial unlocks.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
All right, everybody. This is about the watch. Pictures of Kaylee, pictures with the watch, but once again, she does not look like her regular self as a blonde. She has dark hair in those pictures. So I needed to see a picture of her with blonde hair wearing the watch to make sure she even wore it that night. Have they retrieved any information from the watch? Do they have Alexa or Echo at the house? Did any alerts go in to 911 pertaining to the watch, such as low heartbeat, rapid heartbeat? Did she even have the watch on during the attack? A lot of interesting information. Did anybody have Alexa in the room? Imagine Alexa talking and repeating back whatever the killer was saying or what the victims were saying in the room. I bet none of you ever thought about that. Very interesting information because Alexa will respond to you talking to it. So imagine you're hollering and screaming for your life and Alexa is repeating what you're saying. Dear God, help me. Because that's a lot. That's a lot to fathom. Batteries being dead in the watch. Well, batteries working. It records the watch. Once again, was the watch on the victim? They say they will also leave the watch on during bagging the hands. Were any notifications sent to the phone or 911 while the girls and Ethan were being attacked? How many had watches on that could give off the information? Data being lost once out of Wi-Fi. So what was retrieved from the Fitbit watches? Locked phone, PIN, fingerprints, facial ID pertaining to the phones. Did they have trouble getting into any of the watches if indeed she had the watch on? Mercy, mercy. Just the thought of that Alexa talking while being attacked. Because let me tell you something I heard a few years ago. And this is before I got into any of this iPad computer stuff, because I've never cared for computers or iPads or any of that stuff. I never cared for social media. I was one of those people very late to the game of social media. I just didn't care for it. Some of it I still don't care for. I mean, it's a good tool, but it's also been used for very dirty, nasty things, such as being up here on the wire, doxing people, stealing profiles, sextortion, all type of crazy nonsense, things that weren't going on many moons ago. And I think I'm going to do a live pertaining to that because that's something we need to talk about, a hypothetical. Where would we be without social media? Could you live without the modern amenities of what we use, such as a Fitbit watch, Wi-Fi, cell phones, touch screen? Could you go back to the old days of landline and only getting news via the radio, newspaper, or the news? I want you to think about that. That will possibly be my live tomorrow. Okay. Locked phone. Locked watch. Did they have a hard time getting into the watch if indeed she had the watch on Kaylee or any of the other victims? Very interesting. Very interesting. Facial ID, fingerprints to get into the watch. This is very good commentary. But anyway, back to the Alexa story. Sorry I jumped off. Somebody was talking in their house to somebody else about a private conversation. And Alexa, I don't know how this happened, so don't ask. Alexa decided to tell somebody that they had been talked about. Now, I don't know how this happened. This is the craziest story I ever heard. But anyway, the conversation got repeated through this Alexa. And so the woman finds out she's been talked about from her friend. Or Alexa called her, something to this effect. So I don't know how all that stuff works, but I can't imagine sitting in my house and I'm talking about whatever to whomever on a phone, and Alexa's picking up my conversation. Alexa decides to call the person I'm gossiping about and tell them, hey, Angie's talking about you. You've got to be kidding me. This is why you have to be very careful with these cell phones and talking boxes. Because I know with touchscreen, you can easily text the wrong person. You can easily call the wrong person. You hit that screen by mistake, you're dialing somebody in contacts and you didn't even pull up the contacts. It's because the screens jump when they're touched. So you can accidentally touch the phone, throw the phone down, it could fall. And next thing you know, it jumps screens and it's now dialing, the last person you called or whoever called you or a contact, text messaging, all of that. Screen jumps too fast. If you don't pay attention, you're texting the wrong person. Next thing you know, you sent the message and then you realize, oh, damn, that text was meant for somebody else. You have to be careful with these touchscreen phones. They are dangerous. And the fact that Alexa can call somebody and tell them what the hell you said, you might need to put Alexa outside. She needs a damn job. Just a little slight humor there for you guys. But that's the said information from News Nation pertaining to the watch that Kaylee was wearing. What has the watch recorded if indeed she wore the watch on the night of the homicide? Thank you for joining me. I will be bringing you updates also from Enton and other news sources via Twitter. Yeah, you might want to eye all that baby monitors and Alexa, because Alexa has called somebody and told you damn business. We just hope she did some talking on the night of these kids' death. This is some information that is going to blow some of you all's mind if you haven't heard it already. News Nation is the source of this information. The coroner gave graphic details to the teen's sister, who's 17 years old. Now, let me talk to the coroner directly. This is from the Queen. First of all, it came out that you're not even a coroner and you don't have the credentials. Then we find out you're a fucking nurse. Then we find out you're a lawyer. How many hats do you have besides medical examiner? I'm going to talk shit now. Why would you tell a 17-year-old that what the body looked like, lady? Are you serious? You were supposed to speak to Mr. or Mrs. Gonsalves about the death of their child, not Pookie, Ray Ray, Bubba, or nobody else. So this goes to show that Moscow has a lot of issues, especially with this investigation. I'm not here to badmouth them, but it's just too many entities in this story pertaining to these kids' deaths that is just horrendous, such as somebody looking at dead people that ain't a medical examiner, number one. Medical examiner being a butcher, candlestick maker, lawyer, nurse. A glove found by a damn YouTuber. You see where I'm going with this story? It's too much going on. Too much. YouTuber driving up the street with their wife and allegedly spots a glove at the edge of the driveway. What is the fuck wrong with this story? People not qualified to look at dead people's bodies. You're supposed to measure wounds. You're supposed to do a whole lot of stuff when you are dealing with the dead. You're supposed to cut them open. You're supposed to see the contents of their stomach. You're supposed to weigh their organs. You're supposed to cut the body open and inspect it. Last time I checked, I don't know any nurses, nurse practitioners that do this. It's kind of like the Undertaker. Do you really want your Undertaker cutting your meat at the deli? I'll wait. Hey, we're going to the grocery store. I need a pound of turkey. Oh, sure. Oh, did you know also he's the funeral home director? Who? The guy that cuts the turkey at the grocery store. The fuck is going on out here in Moscow? That's creepy to me. That'd be no different than the tow truck guy being the Undertaker at the funeral home. Oh, he tows your cars and he picks you up and takes you and puts you in the box at the funeral home. This is ridiculous. I know what's going on in Idaho. I'm not dumb. This is the truth and mild humor during this commentary. I'm very aware of who's doing what to whom in Idaho pertaining to the dead people. Originally, a nurse / attorney gave commentary about the dead people. How about that? I'm on top of my game. News Nation is the source about the coroner. Thank you for joining me. I guess people think I don't read.
Point that out every day and again, asking and answering their own questions with no reporters allowed. And it's very important to point that out. Earlier, Christy Gonsalves, Kaylee's mother, said in an interview that her family learned about that vehicle at the same time and in the same way that everybody else did, the press release. The victims' families have long complained about a lack of information from authorities. And on that front, Mrs. Gonsalves related to NBC a bizarre and disturbing incident involving the coroner, Kathy Mabbitt. She says that she herself has never spoken with this coroner, but that her 17-year-old daughter has. That would be Kaylee's teenage sister. She says the coroner spoke on the phone with the teenager and gave graphic details of how her sister was murdered when asked. To help break all of this down, I want to bring in Bobby Chacon. He is a former FBI special agent and expert in criminal investigations. He also happens to be an attorney. Bobby, thank you for being here. So much to go over with you. First, about that issue where the coroner tells a 17-year-old sibling what exactly happened to your sister. That doesn't sound like protocol to me.
No, it certainly is very bad practice. I've never heard that before. Talking to a minor family member, sister of a victim. I mean, that's poor practice. I mean, the all communication should be consolidated. There should be one point of contact with the authorities to the families. They should be updated on a regular basis. And this way, they're not going to 3 or 4 different sources. The coroner's office, and I get it. The coroner's office operates separately than the police department, separately than the prosecutor's office. But they all got to get on the same page, and they've got to put one person in point of contact that can update the families and keep the families in the loop.
Would it be protocol for the coroner to be able to speak to parents if the parents wanted that information? I mean, they're adults.
Yeah, sure. I think I've heard that happen before, but again, you do it in conjunction with the investigators because obviously there's stuff maybe in the coroner's reports that you don't want getting out, even to the family, at least at this point in the investigation. So I think it's always good practice to coordinate between the coroner, the investigators, and the prosecutors that are all on board already, and they all know each other. I'm sure they all talk at some length together. So I think that it's good practice to be coordinating all of this information together so that you don't get this lack of information or different information, conflicting information going out to the families.
So the other issue Brian was able to break today was that manager of the store said Kaylee and Maddie and her friends were always in the store. He said, I'd just seen them 3 weeks prior to their death. And he said that it was a regular conversation he had about the stalker, that the girls were worried, that Kaylee was worried, that they actually would walk in groups because Kaylee was worried, that she would change her behavior, especially downtown and at that corner club bar, which is the last place they were before the food truck, before coming home and being murdered. And yet the police told us that they'd run every lead they could on the stalker and couldn't corroborate it. But there's Brian, he found a manager who said, I saw these girls all the time. I talked to them all the time.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if they're parsing their words, but I think they probably have a lot of uncorroborated or what they think is uncorroborated information on stalkers or stalking behavior. It would be very uncommon for college-age girls on this kind of campus who are very fun-loving and outgoing not to have the interest of guys that they're not interested in. And so I think that, beyond the 3 victims that are deceased here, they have friends, and it would really shock me if the police didn't have the same information from some of their extended, circle of friends, because as you said, they've been talking among each other like this. They've been talking to that store manager. It's very conceivable that other friends knew about this behavior and knew about, this person or persons. And the police are, maybe they're running out a bunch of leads that they haven't found a second or a third corroborating source for. But it's my thought that they probably are following this stuff. They just haven't gotten enough of it.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation.
Oh, News Nation. Thank you so much. So this coroner, who we already know has many hats, and yes, the Queen already knew that the bodies were sent out. I've done my homework. Nobody pays attention to what I'm talking about. We're talking about at the beginning of this investigation when she gave commentary pertaining to the wounds, so on and so forth. Anywho, she had no business talking to Kaylee's sister, who's 17 years of age. Okay? She knew she was supposed to talk to the adults only in that house about anything pertaining to the autopsy and information. And since you all want to tell me that I don't know that the bodies were sent out, then what the fuck is she doing talking to a 17-year-old about the fucking bodies? That's the point we're making during this live stream. The hat she was wearing, she didn't have no business wearing in the first place. So whether the bodies got sent out or not, This woman has also now been talking to a child about what happened to her sister. Now explain that. Since the bodies were sent out. Very unprofessional. She knew better. She had no business talking to a child. So see, it's just more and more coming out pertaining to this case. And I'm not trying to throw any shade on the police department, but it's common sense. They were not equipped to handle a quadruple homicide. They only had 36 people working. So then you have to count who was seasoned or not in detective work. This is not good. So all this he said and she said and allegations of a stalker and getting CCTV footage, and now people want to argue about how late it was before they went to the vape shop and this shop and the store and day 7, day 9. As someone said, you know how long it takes to go through video surveillance of a store? Store 1, store 2, store 3. You don't do it overnight. Somebody has to sit there and watch all that stuff. So somebody's got to go talk to people. Somebody's got to watch video surveillance. Somebody's got to go through phone data, computer data, talk to neighbors, talk to friends. Who do y'all think is doing all that? It ain't Mickey Mouse. That's why we had 40-something FBI agents from around the United States helping with the case, because it's a lot of footwork. That's what detectives do. They do footwork. Besides forensics and data, somebody has to actually get up, put their shoes on, put their overcoat on, start their car, drive to the set locations, ask to talk to people. God forbid Pookie Ray Ray's not there. Then we have to leave a message, leave a card, wait for him or her to respond, then go to the next place, talk to that person. Do you know how long that takes? 26,000 people in a town, half are supposed to be students. Somebody's got to go walk and talk to all these people and gather information. And everybody's getting upset about how long it's taking to get footage. Well, you have to have somebody to go do that. Somebody's got to sit and watch the footage. Then they talk about the footage deleting itself after 7 days or a month. This is not easy work. This is not easy work. That's why they have agents involved, because naturally you can't take all of Moscow Police Department to work the case, because you're going to also have other issues going on in Moscow. Might be somebody else getting their house burglarized or a theft or fraud. Well, who's going to work those cases if everybody's working the quadruple homicides? So somebody's got to navigate other things. And for those who did not know, the university does not have their own security. Moscow police polices the campus. Ding! So they're now doing double threat. Campus business and town business. For those that did not know that. Oh, Lord have mercy. What a case. I'd be so glad when this case is over too, because this is daunting. Because you just don't know where this is going and where this is going to lead. If this car is an actual lead, I pray that it is, because this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. Please check out News Nation for up-to-date coverage, because they've been doing a good job of bringing us information pertaining to this case. I'd like to know how you all feel about this car business. Do you believe this car is the perpetrator? That's what I'd like to know. Let's go to law and crime. I think some of you need to hear this information. This was 3 days ago. I don't know if I played this. Mr. Gonsalves calls these police department cowards. That's not good. Information about more autopsy stuff released. This is just bad. I don't know where this is going, because this is starting to make me go crazy. Yes, I hope that somebody saw something, and that the perpetrator was in the car. And if the car was speeding, why would it be speeding? We just got to pray that what's on that store camera is the truth. It is the car, because the car came from somewhere. Somebody gave this tip for a reason. Let's see what Law and Crime has to say about this.
Details and the best timeline that we can come up with.
A father of one of the students killed in the University of Idaho quadruple murder case reveals alleged new details from the coroner. Forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan reacts and explains. Welcome to Sidebar.
I like Mr. Morgan.
I'm Jesse Weber.
At first, when we heard of the news, I was so angry that she was taken away. All these special people. And you never think it's going to happen to your family. And then I had to sit back through my tears and realize that I really was blessed. I was fortunate to have Xana live with me for a couple years.
We continue to follow.
So glad to hear that. Hear about somebody else in this case.
21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves, 21-year-old Madison Mogan, 20-year-old Zana Kernodle, and 20-year-old Ethan Chapin. Their bodies found in their off-campus home out in the college town of Moscow. These killings happened 4 weeks ago, and at the time of this recording, no arrests have been made, no suspect identified, and no murder weapon recovered. But there is something that we have to talk about, and those are the new statements from Stephen Gonsalves. Mr. Gonsalves, for anybody who's been following this case, has been quite vocal with the media about this investigation since the news broke about the killing of his daughter, Kaylee. In fact, he would reveal certain things that we weren't entirely sure the authorities wanted him to share, and now he is coming out with more information regarding the wounds. He's doing this in an interview with Fox News Digital. So let me bring in right now my good friend, forensic death investigator from Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan, who is also the host of the Body Bags podcast. Joseph, it's good to see you, and thanks for coming on again.
Good to see you, brother. How you doing?
So before we get into the wounds and the revelations about the wounds, I want to start here. So Stephen Gonsalves told Fox News that he spoke with the coroner, Kathy Mabbutt. Apologies if I mispronounced her last name. First off, before we get into the wounds, is it typical for a coroner to share this information with the parent of a victim?
It depends upon the case. And yeah, I mean, I've certainly, in my past, working as a medical legal death investigator, have shared, some of the incident details when asked specifically about it. However, I will say this. If there has ever been a multiple homicide case that I have worked, I've never done a compare and contrast relative to injuries that other victims have sustained to the wounds that, say, the immediate family is asking me about one victim. That's very bad form. And I can't imagine any coroner doing that.
I'm going to get into that, the comparison between Kaylee and the others. But this is what Stephen Gonsalves told Fox News about what was told to him by the coroner. She says, "Sir, I don't think stabs is the right word. It was like tears, like this was a strong weapon, not like a stab. She said these things were big open gouges. She said it was quick. Mercy. These weren't
Terrible.
Something where you were going to be able to call 911. They were not going to slowly bleed out." What do you make of that?
I've never heard verbiage like that from anyone.
Because she's not the coroner. That's why.
Field, and I'll tell you
she shouldn't have no business talking in the first place.
Does that mean that he might be getting it wrong, or that there's something? If a coroner told this to him, something's off?
Yeah, something would be off, and I don't know. Maybe he's not quite understanding what's being said, but he's using very specific language there, Jesse. Tears. Let's just break it down real quick. All right. When you're using an edged weapon tearing is not something that's associated with that. Okay, tearing creates this, where you have connective tissue or you have tissue bridging. Most of the time, that's connected with lacerations. And lacerations are, associated with blunt force trauma. The coroner's never mentioned anything about blunt force trauma. So I don't know if he's misunderstanding, misremembering, just misstating. I don't know, but I do know this: you have two choices with sharp force injuries. You either have stabs, okay, or you have incised wounds, which are slices. Slices are longer than they are deep. Stabs are deeper than they are long. That's really your only two choices. Now, kind of an outlier in all of this is something we refer to as puncture wounds, which doesn't look anything like a stab wound. They're generally, kind of circular in shape. You see them with people that have been stabbed with shanks, homemade shanks in prisons, or people that are impaled on rebar and that sort of stuff. Now, this tearing, it doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make sense whatsoever.
But we've been under the impression that it was a fixed blade knife that was used. There was reporting that it was a Rambo style knife. There was questions if it was a K-bar style knife. He said, Stephen Gonsalves, that the knife slashed open Kaylee Gonsalves's liver and lungs. Again, so are we thinking it's the wrong weapon based on this, or are we still of the conclusion it's a knife, but the characterization is a bit off?
Well, first off, I'm very sorry for this man's loss, but he's not the person I'm going to go to for an analysis of injuries. I'm still waiting to hear from the medical examiner, who I think or the forensic pathologist who is contracted to do these examinations over in Spokane. All right, coroner, just so everybody knows, the coroner is not an MD here. She's certainly not a forensic pathologist. She didn't do these. These bodies would have been transferred over there. I don't understand from the genesis of a lot of this information that he's putting out there. It doesn't make sense. And keep in mind as well, early on, do you remember back, I think that the coroner actually had a sit-down interview with our friend Ashley Banfield early on. And she was the first person to get to the coroner. And Ashley asked very specifically in that interview, she said, were any of these victims slashed? Because that goes to another part of criminal profiling and all that sort of stuff. The coroner definitively said no. She said these were stab wounds, and they at least had one fatal stab wound that she could identify. And she talked about, the coroner framed it in a sense where she talked about the chest. Okay? All right? He's saying, his father is saying liver. Liver ain't the chest. Okay? As a matter of fact, it's way south. You're talking about below the rib cage, essentially on the right aspect of the abdomen. So I don't really know, how they came to that conclusion. That doesn't make sense. And again, using this term, and I think using the term the liver was slashed, that's not what you would have in this case. It would be a stab. Remember, I gave the description of an incised wound just a moment ago. This is not an incised wound. This is a stab wound. Okay.
What do you make of when he says, like you mentioned, that Kaylee's wounds do not match to Mogan's wounds? So he said they may have individually died from the exact same thing, being stabbed, but there are more details. They're not even close to matching. Again, do you think that this is a situation where perhaps he's misunderstanding what the coroner's saying, or is the coroner maybe providing conclusions that the coroner should not be making at this point?
My default position again with this, Jesse, is what does the board certified forensic pathologist say about it?
And just to be clear, it is possible he's right.
It is possible that he is right, I would assume. However, what's the genesis for this? How does he assess that these injuries are?
There is a power vacuum in New York.
Oops, sorry about that, you guys. So he's saying, how does he know? Is it possible she fought back more, or did she really have a lot of more wounds toward the face and chest area, more brutal than the other victims? I don't know.
these injuries are different. Did he see this other victim's body? Was he the one?
Yes, exactly. Did he see the other kids' bodies? That's going to make a big difference.
He's saying that the coroner sat there and said, your child's injuries are so much more worse than any other victim. That's what I have a real problem with here. First off, I don't know how accurate that is. And secondly, and I think bigger, it's very disrespectful to these other victims.
Yes, it is. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thanks for saying that.
Right now, we don't know what the status of the injuries are. It's been very nonspecific relative to defensive injuries. Who sustained the defensive injuries, what the location of these so-called defensive injuries are, that sort of thing. So, right now we're just kind of getting snatches from him, and I don't know the genesis of the information he is relating.
Well, he said also that the coroner told him that these victims in general died quickly and didn't suffer. He said he's
I didn't like that. That was wrong.
In fact, he says it was a hell of a battle going on down there from what the coroner told us. Again, I give you your response.
And again, how do you make that assessment? This is not like a one-off event where you have a single perpetrator on a single victim. This is highly dynamic. I've mentioned the term, commingling relative to evidence, and a lot of that has to do with proximity. But let me throw out another term to you. It's called co-sleeping. And so you've got two victims. Well, both sets of victims are actually co-sleeping with one another.
Right.
So you're telling me that in the darkness or whatever the lighting situation was, that this individual, the perpetrator, this monster came out of the dark and was able to identify.
Yes, I'm very glad he said that.
Individual and target her.
Yes.
That's what's being implied here. That she was specifically targeted. Ergo, that how this is demonstrated is the fact.
Exactly. I have said this before in my commentary. The house is dark. If I'm to believe that everybody was asleep in their beds, the couple was together, the girls were together, make it make sense for the perpetrator coming in either direction, especially the back way. How do you know who's who in the bed? Two blondes. I'll wait. In the dark. Have any of you considered this since he wanted to tell us they were in the bed together? How do I know where I'm going? 3 floors of victims. Stay woke. 3 floors with victims in individual rooms. So, 2 rooms occupied on the bottom. 1 occupied on the 2nd floor. 1 occupied on the 3rd floor. I'm the killer coming in. Which direction? I have a target, but it's dark. Push the door open. Oh, 2 for 1. Who's who? Stab them both because they're both here. Wasn't collateral damage because one was in the bed with the target. Number 2, Ethan, Xana. Where were they exactly? Coming and going to the rooms? What? If Ethan wasn't in the room, that means he was doing something out of the room. Why am I killing him? And Xana. She's dying on the side of a wall, bleeding out. How did she get there? Because the perpetrator and she fought. Why am I killing these two if my target is Kaylee or Maddie? And if I'm to believe that on the 2nd floor, the couple were in the front room that's on the side of the wall of the kitchen, then that means if I came in through the kitchen way, the first room I'm going to go to is the room closest to the stairs that lead to the 3rd floor. Would I not? So if I went to that room, am I assuming this is the room where the girls are or my target? No. Do I go there first? How did it go with the 2 on the 2nd floor? But then we found out that Leslie, they're not in that room. They're in the room around the corner. Think about what I'm saying. So now I've got to go around the kitchen wall into an open space in the dark to go to that room that sits above the parking lot on the second floor. And at this point, even in the dark, you should see that there's a load-bearing wall that leads to the downstairs. Checkmate. So why did he not go downstairs? If I'm just rumbling through the house randomly. So you got to make sense to who got hurt first. Third floor first. Ethan hears noise. Runs out. Boom, boom, boom. He's stabbing both. Got to be quick now. So they say. He's quick. Come down, confront him. Overpowers this boy who's at least 6 feet tall or more. So my God, what is the perpetrator? 7'7"? Ex-military, what? Since everybody wants to keep talking about a damn military knife. Who is this perpetrator that took down a boy? Because Ethan was a big boy. Make it make sense. So I'm randomly killing people from floor to floor, but I don't touch the people on the first because the first is not a basement apartment. Please take the virtual tour on my community page and in my queue so you can see he would have known that there were stairs that went down to the first floor if he indeed killed the kids in the room around the corner from the kitchen. If they died in that room, if I'm supposed to believe that's the room they died in, because I don't know which room they died in. The room sitting above the parking lot on the second floor, am I supposed to believe that's the room? The side wall, which would be, I guess, the side facing that apartment building. If that's the side, I don't know which side they're talking about. I have to see an up-close visual of the whole property in 360. Then the perpetrator walked through the kitchen, went to the first room near the stairs. If they didn't die in that room, he had to walk around the corner to the other room that faces the parking lot. So at this point, he would have seen the partition and seen that stairs go down to the first floor. 6'3". Come on, you guys, make it make sense. That's a big boy. Let's finish this.
How this is demonstrated is the fact that her injuries were so much more robust than any other injuries that anybody might have had. I just don't see Ace arriving at that conclusion.
He says he has his own suspicions about what may have happened. He's not revealing at this point. What did you make of this comment? Where again, he says the coroner.
Mr. Gonsalves, if you believe you know what happened, then why don't you just tell us? Because you've been talking around in circles since day one. You've already decided that you can't keep your peace. So just tell us. Be done with it. Who do you think killed your child? You and your daughter have been the mouthpiece of this investigation. Your wife has given a little bit of commentary. Who do you all think was cleared too fast? Who do you think is involved? You don't think it's an ex-boyfriend, new boyfriend, so that doesn't leave anybody but Jeremy, the neighbor, the roommates, whoever was standing out at the Grub Hub, and whoever else you know about that we don't know about. So who else was introduced as person of interest or interviewed that we have no knowledge of? That's what I'd like to know. Who do they think got cleared too fast? And is it some people that we don't know were mentioned? Because I'm confused. I'm utterly confused. Utterly and literally.
He says the coroner told him that the perpetrator was a strong individual, but we know the police haven't identified, any suspect or the suspect's gender. He came out and said, Steve Gonsalves, I got outraged by them not just coming out and saying this was a woman or a man, because they should know by the amount of strength it took to deliver the injuries. They're just being cowards. There are girls walking around the street right now that deserve to know they should be looking out for a sadistic male. What do you think?
Wow, he's into profiling now. Okay. Yeah, that's inappropriate. He should not be saying that at all.
You don't think the coroner gave him any indication about it?
I don't know what she gave him, but he should not be the mouthpiece for it and putting that information out there. For all I know, this individual probably is a sadist. I have no idea how to measure that. But how are you going to measure strength as well? I mean, I think that we can probably agree that it would have taken some level of strength, particularly with the first victims, and willpower in order to bring this about. You're going to, because you're fighting two individuals at the time. I go back to this idea of co-sleeping in this context. You've got two victims that are there before you if you're the perpetrator, and you're attacking both of them with a knife. Again, I don't see how you can be targeting someone, specifically physically targeting someone, and you're having to fend off both individuals, because we don't know anything about the sequencing of death at this point.
Exactly.
I have always...
Sorry about the commercial. What is the sequence of death? Second floor first or third floor first? Hell, did he go through the front door? That means he would have bypassed the two girls on the bottom, and that would have shown intentional, unless the doors were locked. But hey, you don't give a damn. You're walking around with a big-ass knife. How do we know? What is the truth pertaining to the sequence, and who's the target? And did he go through the entire house? Because if the door was left unopened, that means we have to assume he went through the entire house if the neighbor is telling the truth about the door. Thank you for joining me.
At this point either. Keep that in mind. That's very important here, because we don't know anything about the postmortem interval. They still don't have this timeline figured out as well.
We have ideas about it, right, based on the house and who was killed. Before I have to let you go, Joseph, we have about a minute left. I want to ask you real quick about it seems that it's being reported that the hands of the victims have all been bagged at the scene in an effort to preserve possible DNA evidence, so that their hands were bagged up. Is that common, and what could we find from that? And how long would it take to get results?
Okay, first off, yeah, it's very common to bag hands. In the past, we just used brown, not sterile, but clean brown paper bags, and you tape them on the hands. Now they literally have these kind of all-encompassing little bags that have a drawstring. And kind of, again, bear with me, let me break it down, tell you how it works. You bag the hands very carefully, because there's a tremendous amount of trace evidence. One of the reasons you bag the hands is that this is kind of a logistics issue. When bodies are being moved from one location, and certainly if you're talking about traveling all the way from this location to Spokane, which is where the bodies would have been examined, there's a lot of jostling, so things fall off. It's very fragile. When you remove these bags, they're removed very carefully, Jesse. And so anything that's contained in them, they'll be sealed up and individually labeled and sent to the crime lab for examination. Now, they're also protecting anything that's contained under the nails. You've heard me, you and I have talked many times over the years about nail scrapings and nail clip, skin, any kind of blood, anything like that's going to be contained. And also, because this was apparently a pretty bloody scene, it's amazing how much hair will contact and stick to hands. I find that more frequently than just about any other kind of evidence, hair from perpetrator, and sometimes hair from the victim too, because it's so dynamic. How long is the turnaround? It's not surprising. First off, here we are. We're past that marker in time of 4 weeks now. I am sure that at least the evidence that is gleaned from the victims is at a point where they've almost assessed it. They've collected all of the DNA that they possibly could, and now it's just about running the numbers relative to it to try to determine whose DNA is there. And what you're looking for is, when you go through this process of this perpetration of this butchery, person A, okay, is going to have their DNA and possibly the perpetrators. But as you move to B, you'll take, if they're using the same weapon, you're taking the same weapon that has been dipped into the blood of A, then to B, then to C, then to D.
Yes.
So you've got multiple transfers. It becomes very layered, not to mention all the touch DNA as well.
forensics tell so much of the story. We see that all the time in the cases we cover, and maybe we'll see it here as well. By the way, before we let everybody go, anybody with information, they're asked to call the tip line at 208-883-7180. You can email tipline@ci.moscow.id.us, and also you can submit digital tips at fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for taking the time. It was a really interesting discussion.
You bet, buddy.
Joseph Scott Morgan doing his thing, very talented, gives great points. The assumption is that it's a man, as I said, only because of Ethan. I do not believe you would think this was a man if Ethan hadn't been killed. And Joseph says the same. You don't know who was there. You don't know the sequence of death. Because imagine if it was somebody they invited over and they all were sitting and talking and the person just went ham. Because if you aren't expecting it, it could be a woman. That is the assumption, I believe, by many, is why you believe it's a man, why Mr. Gonsalves believes it's a man, because of the stab wounds he saw on his child. He assumed it's a man. As he made commentary about the girls walking together, being together, girls being out, in the public, they need to be looking for a sadistic male. So who are they looking for? A man or a woman, a tag team, two guys, what? One guy, what? Know the victims, random target, house target, what? Stalker, who is the perpetrator? The role of this Elantra, 22,000 cars to go through. Is that locally in the state or neighboring states? 600 total sold, so 600 total of what year? From 11 to 13, 600,000 total in the United States? Where are we going with this? Dear God, this is depressing. Were her wounds more substantial? So one is going to assume face, neck, chest. But as he said here, and I'm glad he said it, it was very disrespectful for him to go on and on about his daughter's wounds as if the other kids did not sustain stab wounds and died. They did not die naturally, Mr. Gonsalves, and you know this. It is disrespectful to them and their families because you act like your child was the only one killed. Her friends also died. And you do not hear their parents going on and on about wounds and this and that. Those people have decided to be mum, and they have been very respectful in their commentary to be quiet. You, however, are the grand poobah of the group for some sick reason. I don't know what is the problem. And some people are trying to show you favor because you're grieving, but you're disrespecting the dead. Those other kids suffer too. And nobody knows how bad it was in those rooms. And if some of them fought back, how do we know how quick it was? Because we don't even know how long it took to kill 4 people. Big knife, yes, but they still suffered. Open gashes, gouges, you say, still would be painful. Come on now. Still would be painful. I don't want to know what it's like to be stabbed. Some would say they'd rather be shot. Possibly so. But to be stabbed, you're getting stabbed everywhere. That cannot be a good feeling. And then you don't know how long it took to keep stabbing the person to make sure they were dead. And don't you think he stood and made sure each person was dead as so nobody could recognize him or her or them? He probably waited in the room. So it's already macabre. You're killing the people. He probably stood there and made sure they did not moan, groan, or get up or crawl. And many killers watch their victims to make sure they are completely dead. And I'm sure he did that in the damn dark. So I won't doubt that he did cut himself, because what am I supposed to believe? He cut the lights on in all of the rooms and stabbed everybody? Here, let me let you see it coming. And then imagine he didn't wear a mask. Ding. I want you to see who's killing you so you can remember my face. The last person you're going to see taking your last breath, I want you to know it was me. Who is the perpetrator? Random, friend, acquaintance, maintenance worker, student, staff, ex-lover, boyfriend, new boyfriend, old girlfriend, shit, I don't know. This is bad, man. This is bad. And imagine how the other students are feeling right now who have no idea what's going on. Oh, Lord, somebody's sending me bad news. Hold on, you guys. I ain't opening that mess. This is some diabolical stuff going on. Let's continue this. The link is in the chat. If you're a new member to this network, please hit the link, be heard. No more silent listeners. Hit the link and tell the queen what you think about the commentary. How do you feel about this case and where it's going? The relevance of the white car. Relevant or not, perpetrator witness. Who was in the car? Proximity to the house. How do you all feel about Mr. Gonsalves calling the police department cowards? That's a very nasty thing to say because what? They won't tell the public what you think they should know. Here are some questions that I've asked on my polls. Please feel free to take them. Is the neighbor who now says he heard a scream the night of Idaho student murder seeking attention for 5 minutes of fame basically a liar or possible suspect? 83% of you said liar, attention seeker. 17% of you said possible suspect. Is the white Elantra involved in the crime of the slain Idaho students? 28% said yes, 15% no, 57% said not sure. Has the true crime community and meddling vultures helped or harmed the Idaho student slain investigation? 12% said help, 25% said harm, 63% of you said both. Is the killer of the University of Idaho student slain a man, woman, or both? 82% man, 3% woman, both 1%, 14% said not sure. Thank you all so much. Idaho murder. Do police know if the killer was a man or a woman? We've got our favorite friend back again, News Nation. Thank you all so much for enjoying the content and listening. What if you find out it was a woman that did this? My.
I don't think that it's wise to quickly discount anything, particularly considering that it's standard operating procedure. You need to look at everything that is on board.
Makes sense. The other question I have is, we're looking for a killer. We don't even know if 50% of the population can be discounted, male or female. Right. And DNA can certainly tell us that. And I look at this as a possibility. The reason they haven't said anything about it yet is that there are so many foreign sources of DNA in that party home, in the multiple tenants who've lived in that home. It's not a deep cleaning home, like, say, a family home that gets regularly cleaned weekly. Is this the reason that you think that police have not yet said to us, we are definitely on the lookout for a male/female?
Yeah, it's a combination of both of those things. I think that you have high occupancy. You also have peripheral individuals that are coming in. You and I have been talking about this for almost a month, Ash, that you're going to have touch DNA that's lying about. I've used the term unspooling, where you're going to have to separate all of this. Look, when you mentioned just a second ago that DNA results are coming in, I don't doubt that they are. But the idea here is that you have to actually include or exclude people that indwell that residence. And that's going to include living samples, those individuals that are still with us that may or may not have frequented that location. Also, the individuals that were in the basement, did they take DNA samples for them, buccal mucosal swabs, scraping the inside of the cheek to rule those individuals out as well. And then at the end of the day, you have unknowns that are left that you're going to have to marry up somewhere along the way, or there could be a possibility that you're not going to be able to match them with anybody. It might be a foreign DNA. And so it's at that point that a lot of people are asking this question. They want to know if forensic genealogy is going to play into this. I don't know if it will, but I think that those resources are available, and if they have unknown DNA, plug it in.
Yep, and anybody who ever, somewhere in that family tree, far flung from the family tree, decided to go to 23andMe for Christmas a few years ago, well, guess what? That could lead us right to a killer. It's happened before. We've seen it. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you. Thank you for watching.
Joseph Scott Morgan. Joseph Scott Morgan. Follow his podcast, Body Bags. He does a lot of commentary with Miss Nancy Grace. You can find that in the YouTube queue, the collaboration with Nancy Grace and other guests. Woman or man? Please go to my community board to take the poll. Woman or man or both? One or the other, or both. Please take the virtual tour of the house so you can assess in your mind how the perpetrator entered the house. I take you on a virtual tour of the house from top to bottom so you can assess in your mind how he, she, or they entered the house. 3-level house, 2 bedrooms on each floor, bathroom on each floor, laundry room, first floor. Allegations the door was left open by a neighbor. Is this true? The chief has said he does not know of the allegation or the person bringing forward the information. What is the truth? Is he lying? Asked to preserve the investigation. Was the door open on the morning of the killings? Did the perpetrator exit out of the front door? Did he come through the front door? Did he have a code to the door? How did he enter? There was a screen lying on the ground during a News Nation caption. Did he take the screen off of the window of the second floor entry in the back? Because the glass door is in the middle and there is a window on one side and a window to the other side which sits above a sink. Okay? What happened? How did the perpetrator enter into the house? Well, he would be laughing because he's walking free. Why would he not be? Laughing at all these news broadcasts and videos and uploads and TikTok videos. If you knew how many people have made videos and commentary about this on TikTok, it is a lot. It is a lot. Let's see what's going on Twitter. Since nobody wants to hit the link and talk to the queen. Brian Eaton, Moscow, Idaho. Who the hell is this keep calling me? I don't know why these people keep messaging. Hold on, you guys. See all these fake stuff people be sending. You don't even know who you're talking to anymore. All right, let's go to Twitter. Let's see what Brian Eaton is talking about. Idaho police say students returning home for winter break is a challenge, but they have investigators across the state and the nation with the help of the FBI. Work will continue through the holidays, police captain says. Let's see what else Brian has posted. Six hours ago, he said they've looked at massive amounts of surveillance footage, especially in the critical camera areas, and they're extending their perimeter out further. FBI teams across the nation are reviewing footage from the Moscow area. As I've told you, there are several agents working the case that are not in Moscow, okay? So we have agents around the United States viewing information pertaining to this case. I also want to let you know that Xana Kernodle has a scholarship endowment, and it's at the University of Idaho Foundation, 875 Perimeter Drive. If you need information, if you want to call with your credit card to make a donation to the Xana Kernodle Scholarship Endowment, 208-885-4000. Worthy cause. And this is for UI students. Kernodle family will match dollar-for-dollar donations up to $10,000. I brought you that information just a little bit earlier during this live stream. 21 hours ago, police have said they investigated rumors Kaylee had a stalker, but could not find any evidence one existed. Also, Kaylee's family told me they did not know of a specific stalker or a specific stalking incident. Very interesting information. Very interesting. And also on his Twitter account, you will also see the interview with that young man at the vape shop, Brian Inton. I'm going through all the said information. 22,000 Hyundai Elantra registrations, mostly from Idaho and Washington. As the murder investigation continues with all the media coverage, why hasn't the driver of the Hyundai come forward? I asked police. That's very interesting information. You heard Vinny Politan asking the same question. Let's hear what Inton has said to the police department about these cars. Let's get on with this information.
That's a great question. You know, it could be, they don't know. It's hard to imagine, but that's why we're asking the public. Someone just could have been coming through town. It just could have been a vehicle that happened to be there, ranging to whatever possibility you can imagine.
Police are not saying exactly how they know the Hyundai was near the house where the murders happened, but say they started looking for surveillance almost immediately.
Well, we started looking for video the day of the crime. Officers on scene, before I even arrived, had identified certain residences in the area that had video cameras.
News Nation learning this liquor store handed over surveillance video to police within the last week. Detectives also showed up to this vape shop 9 days after the murders, but an employee told me their system deletes video after 1 week, and police showed up too late. We also went to a vaping shop where they mentioned that police had come 9 days after the murder and that the video had already been deleted.
Oh, wow. That cut off quick. Well, that's not good.
That's got some people concerned. Should the police have...
So, some of these videos delete themselves after 7 days and 1 month. 1 day ago, Brian Inton says, Moscow police say they started looking for surveillance video the day of the crime in and around the crime scene. They say that expanded as they got more investigators to the area and started putting together teams. The liquor store police got surveillance video from is in a different part of Moscow from the gas station where the video of the white car came from, both roughly a mile from the house, but in different directions. So those are different places. Liquor store and gas station are two separate entities of investigation on surveillance for those that need to know that said information. And it also says, to clarify, when I was told law enforcement has everything, the person meant all the video police wanted from the liquor store. Once again, if you have information to this crime, 208-883-7180. There are 2 prompts. First, press 1 for tips currently highlighted in the news. Then press 4 for the Moscow homicides. Make sure to talk to an operator. There we have it. Want to make sure I'm bringing you everything. You can go to his community board, to his Twitter account for all the latest information pertaining to this. But let me say this pertaining to surveillance. It is wrong to be putting out people addresses that have surveillance cameras and people on the news, such as the sister of Kaylee Gonzalez. You really don't think before you speak, young lady, by telling people who had surveillance and a doorbell camera, which was brought out at the beginning of this case, that's what gave the time that your sister and Maddie made it home is from a doorbell camera. And you all don't have the right to be telling people the proximity of the house with the cameras because the killer is still at large. Do you not think the killer might want to play funny games with these houses? You think he has not watched and surveyed the area if we believe that he targeted your sister or anybody at this house, and you just don't mind telling people, the general public, how it came to be that the information was obtained to how your sister and her friend came home? This is stupid. This is not a game. Maybe you would like the killer to know where you and the Gonsalveses live. How about that? Because your sister is dead. Her friend is dead. Her other friends are dead. So you should not be telling anybody where the fuck a camera is located. You all think this is a joke. You can't sit on TV and act like you're grieving and you're giving the killer information he is not supposed to have. This is why the police won't talk to you all and talk to the public. You are endangering the lives of anybody that had video footage of the fucking killer and your, oh my God, I'm about to scream. And your sister and her friends. You think the killer has not come back up there and looked around? You don't even know if he dropped something in the house, dropped something outside of the house, dropped something going in, dropped something coming out. And you're going to sit there and tell a live audience which house has the fucking doorbell camera. Man, come on. Yes, I saw the ladder. We've asked about the ladder, Brian. I don't have any confirmation pertaining to the ladder on the side of the wall, but that's a good question. Did he use it to crawl in? Because as I told you, there's a window over the sink at the second landing in the back where you walk in on the second floor. There is a glass door in the middle, a window to the left, and a window to the right if you're inside of the house. If you're inside, that would be the right side where the sink is. Coming in, it would be your left side, the window, sink, and then to your right, there's a screen lying on the ground. So did the perpetrator break in through the window? Because why is that screen off? So please pay attention to these live footages and drone footages, because there is a picture with the screen off of the window, the second entry, glass slider. Who took off the screen? How long has the screen been off? Because what is going to be disturbing, this ladder was always there, the screen was off, and that damn glove, we're to believe this glove that Mr. Interview Room found, this is bad. This is really bad. And how far out in the perimeter have they searched for any type of clues in this investigation? That house that sits right close, you can see everything walking and coming into their house. The person's house that's in the back, that's fenced in, I think it's about 2 houses back there. You can see everything on the back side of the house. And naturally, the apartment building to the right, perfect place for a person to park their car in the parking lot or going up the drive and just walk on down the back of that hill and make your way into the back of the house some form of fashion. It's congested over there. Bullseye view for people to gawk and watch all damn day. Directly in front of them is a house, an apartment building, rows of windows where you can just sit and stop people. Constance, it won't do no good. It won't do no good because these people hear what they want to hear, honey. There we have it. More information. This is a very sad story. I'm trying to bring you everything that's been mentioned in the past day or so with Brian Inton, because he's been on the job bringing forward information. I want to bring that interview of that other crazy guy talking, if I can find him, just to pass a little time during this live stream. But so far, no updates. Still searching for this car. Gonna go back into the queue and see what I can find. Somebody says that glove was debunked after seeing previous videos in that area. Okay. All right. I'm just passing the information along. It does not mean I believe what's been said. Well, he might want clicks and views, and he possibly got it. That's the whole point of saying you found something. Let me see what Court TV's got about this young guy. Hold on one second, because I want you all to hear what he has to say, and then I'll end this live stream since nobody wants to give any commentary. I don't know where that guy is. I can't find him speaking. I don't know which network has it. Somebody's got it. Let me see if, because I want everybody to hear what he has to say. Let me see if they say something about this kid. I think he's a liar too. This neighbor and this scream business. Because first when he went on Facebook, he never said he heard a scream. He's just full of shit. Everybody wants to be famous. Awesome. Dead kids. Pretty bad. I'm trying to find this interview of this of that nut that was talking. Here goes some new information. Let's see what they're talking about.
Searching for the killer of 4 college students, but a void of new information is being filled by so-called armchair detectives, often with rampant online rumors. NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Enton is on the ground there. Brian has been on the ground, and you well know, Brian, these internet sleuths can really create a huge distraction for investigators.
They can, Nicole. For the most part, I find that they do good work and that most of them are responsible and just interested in the cases. But there are, like anything, bad apples that go too far. And it can really become a problem, especially for people who they falsely accuse.
1996, terror strikes the Atlanta Olympics.
It has happened before. Atlanta Olympics 1996. Alert security guard Richard Jewell noticed a suspicious backpack saving lives before it exploded.
The latest story in town.
Only to become the FBI's named suspect, not being cleared for an agonizing 88 days.
They just put my face out there real fast.
California father Darnell Hicks knows all too well how this works in the age of social media. After 2 deputies were shot, his phone blew up. Someone in Malaysia posting Hicks was the gunman. The reposts quickly piled up.
Whoever keep framing me, making it seem like I shot 2 sheriffs when I was out dirt biking all Saturday. Come on now.
Similar horrifying scenarios in Moscow, Idaho.
What we know is that 6 missed calls were made from Kaylee to Jack's phone,
where things implicated the hoodie guy and a neighbor, both cleared by police.
There's no requirement on social media, to be honest.
Retired FBI agent Kathy
Very
Geyer
true.
says the crazy speculation can slow detectives. Indeed, Moscow police report taking in 6,500 actual tips through calls, emails, and digital media submissions. But that doesn't include all those posts that need to be monitored.
Somebody's got to track them through those threads. And sometimes those threads are hundreds, sometimes thousands of comments. And somebody's then got to go read them.
I've had charges dismissed against clients, and yet because the allegations are out there, people still treat them as though they're guilty of the charges.
Federal criminal defense attorney Tama Cudman says social media can be a potent force for good. But for those whose names get out there for something they didn't do, it can be an enduring disaster.
Alleging that somebody committed a crime is what we call slander per se. So
proceed at your own peril before you start making allegations publicly.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that does happen. I mean, libel suits have been filed in the past. Of course, we haven't seen that happen in this situation. It's still so soon, but it's certainly a possibility. Nicole?
Yeah, and we know people just want answers here, but yeah, it's certainly important to be careful. Okay, Brian, thank you. North Carolina, thank you for watching.
All right, and now you have news bringing in the he said, she said, which most news agents do not bring in gossip into their news broadcast. But because this is such a high-profile case, and you all could not stop meddling with people, they had no choice, I guess, but to bring in the allegations of said people in the Grubhub, Jeremy, so on and so forth, Jack, Jane, Peter, Paul, Dick. But most news broadcasts do not repeat internet gossip. That's because they know it's messy and they can get sued to be bringing up people's names in a live stream, even just saying, this is what other people are saying. You're still repeating it. And this is dangerous. You can get somebody killed. You can get somebody hurt. You can get somebody mobbed. Vigilante style justice on an accusation or assumption from a video. All in all, a man can say and look at a person. You don't have to feel comfortable with him looking at you, a woman, but he's still a man. Doesn't mean he actually is the stalker or has had any dealings with these girls. Same thing for whoever were making contact with the girls when they were at the bars. Could just be guys that see them out, like what they see and like to flirt. Then you factor in alcohol. They can get belligerent or too flirty, whatever word you want to use. But did they ever follow anybody home? Show up at their house, work, classes? That's when you have a stalker. I've seen you more than one time at the bar. You followed me to class, to work. You're standing outside. You're parked outside. You're sending me emails, messages through Messenger, IG, TikTok, Snapchat. That's when you have a problem. And with all the gossip about these people, it seems like to me that you all do not care about these kids at all. And that's what's depressing to me, is that there is no respect for anybody dealing with this case. You just don't mind implicating anybody. Let me see what else I can find. So that's about the rumors. Trying to see if I thought I watched them talk about this crazy nut. Everybody wants to give their opinion. About he said and she said. Dear God. Everything is on my community board that I've played and also in the YouTube queue. What would you all do if there was no more internet? No more TikTok. No more nothing. No more Facebook, YouTube. Nothing. I think some of you will lose your minds. Because imagine how we got along before social media. Just saying. All right, let me see. You all told me what to look for. Hold on. Be nice, Melissa. Be nice now. Be nice. Oh, I don't see anything. Okay. Okay, I see it now. This is 40 minutes long. I don't want to play that long of a video. Good grief. Thank you for that. I found it. Well, he lied eventually because initially he went to social media 12 hours after the crime and said he didn't hear anything, how they don't have a suspect. Then now he's talking like he knows what happened. Or heard a scream, rather, excuse me. Let's see what this dodo bird has to say. I'm not going to play all of it.
Like button so you can get these unexpected.
She's talking too much.
It's brown.
First off, I think we should just start by taking us back to that night. The things I've heard in the news from you, Enon, are that it was an unexpectedly quiet night. You wrote about the crime on social media, and share what you remember from that night. Is that a good place for us to start right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I work about like 10, usually like 9 to 11 hour shifts. So I went to work. I got off around, I think it was around 12 that night. It was kind of like a late close, and I like bullshitted with like a coworker for a little while after work, and then I went home. It was around, I don't know, like 1:30, 2-ish a.m. Was maybe when I got home, maybe. I'm always like kind of hoping that I have like a parking spot right in front of my door when I get there, because like lots of times on campus, there's like parties and like they're pretty full. And so like this time I noticed that like, I don't know, it wasn't really any cars as usual. It's like, cool, I'm gonna get a nice spot right in front. And there was I saw like this sort of like kind of like decked out like luxury, like I thought it was black SUV, maybe like a Beamer or something, and it had like rims, tinted windows, and I was like, oh, that's like a pretty cool car. And then like coming out, like I noticed some like plates from like Arizona, I want to say, or
yes.
Montana. There's kind of like
Dodo.
like, I'm always like kind of curious what kind of like different plates are like around and stuff. It's usually you just see like Idaho, especially in like my parking lot. And so like I came in, and it was like surprisingly like pretty empty that night. Like none of the houses and like that on those like 2 streets were having parties, which was like kind of unusual. And then I went home. I was like making some tea, just like doing some contact staff drills and like stretching. I think I played a game of League, and then I went to bed, and then as I was falling asleep, it usually takes me like 30 minutes to an hour to fall asleep. Like, I don't know, I guess, I just missed like initially like, one of my neighbors returning hello after me. So I heard like, a car shut, a door shut, and then like, apartment door shut, and like also like a scream. But like, that's like normal. Like I always hear like screaming almost every Saturday night. So like, I didn't really like think of it. And so, but like, just looking back.
Whew, Lordy.
That wasn't just like some drunk dude.
Yes, he goes to college.
Like, it's actually
wasted education.
And it was like, it was kind of a trip having like the cops like come on and like we don't know what happened. They're just like asking where we were, or like this is weird. Like they're knocking on
behave male
in our apartment. Like that's never happened before. And then
try not to laugh. This
and
is
looked on the
serious.
news, and it was like were people stabbed to death. I was like, it's like right across the street. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. When did
and she's doing the same thing.
Was it those knocks on the door? You woke up the next day? Did these knocks on your apartment door? How did you learn about it?
I was already awake. I was just like woke up a little bit. I was still like drinking coffee, and like the cops knocked on my door, and like after they asked me some questions, like right after they left and started like they're starting to talk to the next door over. I looked on my phone and Googled it and found it pretty much instantly. And that's when I knew.
I gotta read you the first comment in her comment box below the video. It says, "Lady, you deserve an award for staying sane during this interview." I'm trying not to laugh because this is serious, but some of you people are nutty, and you make people say crazy stuff pertaining to the shit you're saying because you're lying. And you got to be ashamed of yourself. This is why I keep telling you all, there are walking sociopaths and psychopaths out here who have not murdered anybody yet, but they're in the making. That's something you all don't seem to understand about true crime. A killer is born every day or made into one. So when you hear these people with these off-the-wall conversations and talking in circles, just know that one day they're going to be on the news, Oxygen, Dateline, First 48 hours, Netflix. There'll be another Chris Watts. There'll be another quadruple killing because these people are in the making. And I'm not saying that he's going to be a killer, but what I'm trying to explain to you is there's a killer popping up every day. Every day. And you have to be very leery of people who immerse themselves in crimes, making up fabricated information, which is called lying. Fabricating is just a nice word to use instead of accusing someone of lying, but you would still be offended if somebody said you're fabricating information. He ain't heard nothing because he went to Facebook after the murders questioning why there were no leads, no suspects, no screams. Now all of a sudden, he's Give me a break.
Like, that's when I knew. And then I think it was like, I don't know, a couple days later when we like the names were released.
Mail Mac, cut it out.
Okay, that was a question I was going to ask. Like, did you initially know that you knew them at all, or did you?
No, actually, when I first saw it, I saw the picture I saw. I thought it was actually the house, like the next house over. I was like, oh. But then when I found out it was like, you know, the house of the people that I don't want to say I knew them, but you know, I was like, I met them. Then I was like, damn. And I don't know, it was kind of sad because actually, you know, like they were super cool. Like I really like my neighbors.
Yeah, you had met them. Is that correct? You'd met Kaylee and who else had you met?
I think it was Santa and her boyfriend.
Okay.
And I think there was like some other people there, but I'm really bad with names, so like I need to look, I had to like look at online like the faces to try to like remember them because it was just like it was super brief, you know. But yeah, they were super nice and super friendly. Like
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
they're like the best neighbors you could want.
I have a question here that you mentioned hearing a lot of sounds typically from the neighbors.
They were the best neighbors you want, but some people complained against them because they made too much noise. So which is it? They were good neighbors to you? Well, who are the people that they weren't good neighbors to with all the partying and noise? Stay woke, everybody in the chat. I tell you, listen to the conversations. This is how you will find the killer. Always listen to what everybody has to say about the victims, the house, the personalities of the victims, what they allegedly said and did not say. They were very, very nice. I can't remember their names, but they were nice. I also heard he said that he was going to crash a party or something. I don't know if we're just dealing with an utter fool or what. Yes, well, you know that he didn't mention his name. Well, he didn't have to mention Ethan's name because he don't know their names, remember? He said, I don't keep up with the names. I don't know their names. So I'm not going to get offended that he didn't know Ethan's name because he just said here he didn't know the girl's name. But they were super nice from when he first met them. Stay woke now.
You mentioned hearing a lot of sounds typically from the neighbors. Is this because it's highly populated, poorly insulated? Tell us a little bit about the neighborhood, because a lot of us, you know,
Bail shell, please.
On the news, we're trying to grasp what this neighborhood is like.
Let's talk about our favorite subject.
Oh, commercial. Sorry about that. Everybody's got to eat.
It's only on the news. We're trying to grasp what this neighborhood is like.
I guess you would say it's kind of like an amphitheater here. You know, it's like they live kind of like down like the hill, and then it's like a big open space.
Oh my Lord! Please stop it.
And like they would have little like gatherings.
Oh, you all are killing me. No love, no love.
And so
I can't.
I mean, and then you know they're like shooting a little bed in Spring Grove, so it's like you you can usually hear like parties and like just like, you know, social drinking chatter, you know, like around the block or whatever, like usually on weekends. It's kind of like, you know, similar vibe of like what you'd think of like a small downtown city, you know, like, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Frat houses, 2 fraternity homes probably have a decent amount of parties going on if it's a college.
Yeah.
Is that?
And, you know, us the block parties are kind of popular too. Like they'll kind of like, you know, like get in big crowds and they kind of like wander around. You know what I mean? Just like go throughout campus and stuff. Not so much lately, but you know, like you go from like sometimes they only stay at a house for like an hour or 2, and then they like kind of like wander around stuff.
That
I guess in the winter a little bit less, but yeah.
Okay. And are you? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, to find the question. They were at like I want to say 1-ish p.m., 1:30.
Okay. So shortly after the police were called then, in other words.
Yeah, they came almost instantly.
Okay.
It was a big deal.
We have another question here. Are you a student? How long have you lived there?
I'm not a student. I've been cooking for like 6 years now, 5 years.
Okay.
I've lived here off and on for 20. What was the last question? I missed it.
Let's see. It was, are you familiar with the activities at the house? I assume they mean the crime scene. Like, you were at their house when you met them, right?
Lord, I'm getting dizzy.
They were actually outside. I never went inside.
Okay.
Thank the Lord.
No, I didn't.
He's never been inside.
I was in my apartment all night. So.
Allegedly.
Okay, the night of the murders or the crime, you were in your apartment all night.
I never really hung out with them. So like, you know, to me they were just like some normal sorority girls that drink every once in a while on the weekends. So.
Okay, and and when I was asking you about meeting them, I want everyone else to know. You know, and I know.
Please stop. You guys are killing me.
You also decided to share an AMA on Reddit recently, which is when I reached out to you.
What
and
the hell?
Mentioned
Jesus. School of noodles and hot
pockets.
God, you all are
might have
sick.
met Xana and her boyfriend.
I'm about to use the bathroom by myself. Please stop.
Bringing them a bottle of wine, perhaps? Was that what happened? Or share us? Can you take us to?
I think the person I think I remember most is Kaylee, and
of course,
like when I introduced myself, I think she was like the first one I shook hands with, I just had like this. It was a pretty nice bottle of wine. I don't remember what kind it was, but it was pretty expensive, and I was cooking with it, and I wasn't gonna finish it, and I was like taking my trash or something. I remember while I was outside, and they were just like like chit chatting, drinking a little bit, playing some cool music, and so I went down, and they were like drinking some beer, and I was just like. Asked her if she wanted just a bottle of wine. I wasn't gonna finish it, and they were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah." And then I was like, "Yeah." And then we just introduced them, like the neighbor, like lived upstairs, and yeah.
This is where I have a problem now listening to this. And where was he approximately to empty the trash to talk to the girls? Because you got to remember, if it's the apartment building to the right of the building, make it make sense. Where is the dumpster in location to where the girls would have an eye view of him? He would have an eye view to make a conversation. Is the dumpster in the back of the building up the hill or down at the bottom? Now, there's a dumpster that sits across the street. I was assuming that belonged to that apartment building across the street because that's the back facade of the building. So I assume that blue dumpster belonged to the apartment building directly across the driveway from the girls. So was he walking down to that dumpster? But then that makes no sense because I would only assume they would be at the front of the house drinking. So naturally, most of us are going to assume they were drinking at the back of the house, which is the second and the third floor level. So that means his dumpster would have had to been at the top of the hill, and they had a bullseye view of him, vice versa. Make it make sense. And what is the season? Because you have to ask yourself, what is their view through trees with leaves on it? Where the hell is this going? And is this the truth? My head is starting to hurt. That sounds like, let me go hang out with them with my half-bottle expensive wine. I mean cheap wine. Is he huffing when he's losing brain cells rapidly? Y'all are sick. I'm just starting to really wonder here because it's getting too descriptive. And this is the same reason why people were judging Jeremy, because you're talking too much. All this extra talking, long-winded, Dear John letters to the media, to the social media, La La Land. I walked the dog. I noticed her standing there. I noticed this one there. The curtains open. Somebody don't got curtains. I noticed them in the window. This is when people start projecting, assuming you are the perpetrator because you're overly talking when at first we didn't even know who the hell you were and that you existed. Dear God, my head hurts. Hello, Laura. Welcome to Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you, Dixie Chicken. Because I'm about to become a Dixie Chick here in a minute because this is getting on my damn nerves.
My neighbor lived upstairs and yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, they were super nice and smiley. That's pretty much all I remember. I never met him after that. I was like, I always thought about crashing the party sometimes, but I never actually did it. I usually got my own thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you referred to them in the Reddit AMA as beautiful, joyful. I can't remember the other two adjectives, but yeah.
They seem wonderful. And some of my coworkers actually went to high school with them in Coeur d'Alene, so it's a trip for us. So, and they said they're super cool too. So it's crazy that it's when you think about these people getting stabbed, it's kind of like horrifying because it makes you think that
a second interview.
Anyone,
good Lord.
not just
see, this is a problem. Why do you keep talking?
Shit, you know what I mean? Just normal people every day. I think that's the really spooky, scary part right now to some people.
Yeah. What's your thought about the luxury SUV now? Looking back, you probably didn't think too much of it then. Any ideas?
No, not really. It was pretty decked out. I think had rims, tinted windows. It just a cool car, and that's why I noticed it. But I didn't I just assumed it was one of the the people's parents. A lot of the students here have really rich parents, and they have nice cars. So that's just kind of what it seemed like to me. And I don't know. I saw I think it was a kind of a deserty. It might have been. It was either Arizona. It might even been Colorado, but I think, or Montana. And I saw one of those cars parked up on the hill of our lot a lot. I'm wondering if it was a white Elantra. I'm thinking back and I can't remember. I don't want to say it was or not, but that was the only other car I noticed that didn't seem like someone that lives there. I don't know. I'm not that observant.
So this leads me to believe that he lives maybe across the street in the loan building or the house across the street. But still, how would he see the girls? Because I'm assuming the girls will be on the backside with the balconies. He said up on the hill. That leads me to believe he doesn't live up at the apartment building. This is why you have to pay attention to the details. Let me play it again. Yes. I'm getting tired of listening. How about that? Let's go back. Because this is how the queen knows when people are fabricating information. I doubt that the girls sat in front of the building drinking. That means they would have to pull out lawn chairs to sit in the front of the building in front of the car. Or they were standing near their car drinking. Could be. I can't say that they never did that. But it's very... Something's off. Hold on a minute. Let me go back. 1 second.
Noticed that didn't seem like... So the neighbor lived upstairs and yeah, that was pretty much it. They were super nice and smiley. And that's pretty much all I remember. I never met him after that. I was I always thought about crashing their party sometimes, but I never actually did it. I usually got my own thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you referred to them in the Reddit AMA as beautiful, joyful.
So right here, crash the party. How would you crash the party? Unless you lived in the brick building. Stay woke now. The brick building to the right of the property. Right-hand side of their house is the brick building. Does he live in that building or across the street? Because the only way you know they're having a party is if you live in the brick building and you have a bullseye view, or you could hear them laughing, cackling, but can you see them actually? Stay woke. But if you live across the street, you can't see from behind the building. So where does this fella actually live? Always pay attention to the details. Where does he live in proximity to the girls? I heard he's good at crashing homes and trespassing. Good God. Y'all don't start now.
I can't remember the other two adjectives, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's wonderful. And some of my coworkers actually went to high school with them in Coeur d'Alene, so it's like it's a trip for us. So, and they said they're super cool too. So it's crazy that it's like when you think about these people getting stabbed, it's kind of like horrifying because it makes you think that it can happen to anyone. Like not just like people who are doing some shit. You know what I mean? Like just like normal people every day. I think that's the really like spooky, scary part right now to some people.
Yeah. What's your thought about the luxury SUV now, looking back? You probably didn't think too much of it then. Any ideas?
No, not really. It's pretty decked out. I think had like rims and windows. It just like a cool car, and that's why I noticed it. But I didn't I just assumed it was like one of the the people's parents. Like a lot of the students here have really rich parents, and they have nice cars. So that's just kind of what it seemed like to me. And I don't know. I saw I think it was a kind of like a deserty. It might have been. It was either like Arizona. It might even been Colorado, but I think or like Montana. And I saw one of those cars parked up on the hill of our lot a lot. I'm wondering if it was a white Elantra. I'm thinking back and I can't remember.
Right there, parked up on the hill. So that's not something I would say if I lived up there on the hill. Stay woke now. He said, it looks like one of the cars parked up on the hill. That is not how you would word it if you lived up on the hill. Okay? Always pay attention. Up on the hill means I live down below the hill. So that leaves across the street in one of the houses or the apartment building across the street, not the apartment building to the right with the steep hill. So I'm going to ask you all the obvious question. How would you see the girls from across the street? Because you don't have a view from across the street. Stay woke. Ain't nobody listening to what the Queen's saying. How would you have a view of the girls partying from across the street? You would not. So I want to know, where does this fella live in proximity to the girls? Because if he lived up on the hill at the brick building coming out, he could possibly have a view of them on the back deck. They're sitting out second floor, third floor, laughing and cackling or whatever, partying with their friends. But if you lived across the street, only thing you're going to see is the parking lot, the garbage cans, the front door, and the front facade of the building. Is he making this up? And the only way, if the girls are partying in the back all the time, he would have to live in one of the houses that's encased in the fence to have a bullseye view of second floor, third floor landing. And that house that sits, which will be to the left side of the driveway. Queen stays woke. That's why you always listen to the information.
I'm thinking back and I can't remember. I don't want to say it was or not, but that was the only other car I noticed that didn't seem like someone that lives there. I don't know. I'm not that observant, but I'm pretty, I'd say more observant than
He's not observant, but he's going to make an allegation of what kind of car doesn't look like it belong where. Well, if the kids are rich, the parents are rich, then how can you say what kind of car belongs where? I tell y'all, stay woke. I don't pay attention, but the car don't look like it belongs. Belong where? What car is he talking about? Let's go back. I'm interested now. Hold on. 12:25.
I'd say more observant than like, I'm thinking back and I can't remember. Like, I don't want to say it was or not, but that was the only other car I noticed that didn't seem like someone that lives there. I don't know. I'm not that observant, but I'm pretty, I'd say more observant than like most people, I guess.
Yeah. Liz is asking, did you know that your coworkers knew them before or after the murder?
No. One of the, like, the next day I went to work, I had one of the dudes talk down and talk to me and, you know, just like ask me how I was doing and talk, and, you know, always telling me how, like, knew some of the people or something. And like, it's like, well, that's crazy. But I mean, that's like Coeur d'Alene's pretty local, you know what I mean? So like,
right.
It's not that far off.
Right. And that's where you work then, is Coeur d'Alene. Is that?
No, I work in Moscow. No, I work in Poland, sorry.
You went to high school with them in Coeur d'Alene and you work in Moscow. That makes sense.
No, I didn't go to high school with them. One of my coworkers did. Okay. I went to school in Poland.
Okay. All right. Sleuth Mom, it's good to see you. I want to let people know that for those missing, Sleuth Mom does a wonderful job covering important cases. Thanks for being here with us, Sleuth Mom. You know, there's some audio. I wanted to ask you this because you've come forward and said you may or may not have heard a scream. You know, you're thinking about it now, wondering if it was a party sound you heard, or if it was an actual, you know, scream you heard. There has been so much speculation going on, you know, online and social media. I know you know that. You've been a part of that. We'll talk about that later. But there's been some audio making rounds of a scream. And I was just wondering if you could confirm that that was nothing you provided to any media anywhere, because a lot of people are trying to make connections there.
I didn't hear about it till basically people were telling me and things like this, and I was like, oh, LOL. Yeah, no, complete hoax. Yeah, nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
How many views has it got?
You know, it's on multiple channels, so I couldn't even.
So here he's discussing the infamous fake audio from a so-called YouTuber who wanted clicks and views. Sugarfoot, another Sugarfoot that's on the wire, perpetrating to be a man. I said that. Now go run tell that. So now here, this fool is worrying about how many likes and views it got. This is not good. We're talking about dead people. Come on now. How many views and likes did it get? I have not gave an opinion about anybody in this case being a suspect, but this one here, I don't know. He needs some self-evaluation because he's odd. He's very odd. Could be nothing. Could be no different than Jeremy, but sometimes it's best to be quiet. And if you're lying, you should not be saying anything. And I'll just leave it at that. This is a 40-minute video. I don't think I can hold on any longer.
Views has it got?
You know, it's on multiple channels, so I couldn't even tell you how many views the screen received because there's so many different outlets, not official outlets, but YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't report anything. I don't see how I would record something after I hear something unless I was already recording.
Thanks, Cindy.
So.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned that you're an artist and that you're a chef.
Lucy, behave. Y'all behave now.
Do you ever stay up late doing your craft, working on things? Do you ever hear what's going on around the neighborhood ever?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. No, I guess not. I mean, I usually listen to something. So, I mean, I'm usually like zoned in on whatever I'm doing. But I guess, you know, it's kind of like on like the parties night, you know, like the.
Let's ask this because I'm trying to figure out where he's located from the kids. Is his apartment just have windows, or does his apartment or house have a balcony or a porch? Because if your windows are closed, the only thing you're going to hear is through the windows. So what could he be hearing if he does not have a deck a porch. What are we saying here? Somebody needs to send me a visual of where he lives because I'm getting utterly confused. Yeah, the vibes would be bad because I'm leery of anybody that makes up stuff after the fact and change their version from what they posted to social media. That's going to be a problem. That's why he's contradictory, because this is not what he said on Facebook or whatever the platform he used when he heard about the murders. And now you all hear that he's a chef. Oh, sweet Jesus, I'm done.
Like on like the parties night, you know, like the like, I don't know, the parties are kind of just like noise to me, you know. So like I hear that, and like every once in a while, like I'll hear, you know, like somebody return home really late in the night. But I mean, it's like semi-normal, like 3, 4 a.m. Like that's not that late. People go over to people's houses and they hang out for a long time, and then they come home on the weekends. Like that's just like college life, I feel like. And like sometimes I'll just like listen to some music in my bedroom to like kind of like tune out like anybody who's like super, super late or loud. And then sometimes like you'll hear just like people walking down, like, you don't know, sometimes yelling, but not like, it doesn't happen like, I don't know, it's not super, super loud, but it's like, you know, it's campus, it's noisy, but I mean, it's like, you can hear what's going on, I guess, sort of like was close vicinity, but yeah, it's usually just noise. Like there's nothing like you want to listen to. I guess it's kind of weird. I guess like, you know.
Well, I'm going to say this, Chef Jizzy Vizzy. If you are not a college student or you're the type that's not for the party in life, perhaps you need to find an apartment in a more low-key locale. I'm sure it is very hard to find housing in this area, just like many places. Queen did her homework last night. The running rate for an apartment in Moscow is starting at $795 for a 1-bedroom and up. So therefore, I'm sure it's limited where you can find an apartment. There are a few rentals available due to the fact that we have a killer on the loose. I should say nobody should have a problem finding a damn apartment in Moscow. What do you say? What say you? Now we got this Chef Jizzy Izzy Kazizzy. This is scary, knowing that he's in close proximity and a knife was used on the victims, and he uses a knife for a living. And I would assume he would be pretty good using the knife, because who wants a slow cutting chef? Stay woke. And I have not implicated anybody in this storyline because I promised that I would not. But due to the fact of him being a chef, it's very scary. Yes, we'll call a spade a spade. Not implicating anybody, but just saying for the record. Oh, Lord mercy. I think he needs to live somewhere. If he's an older person, 30-ish, he might need to live somewhere where there's less noise, considering he does work. He has a real craft, so he can pay attention and sleep and concentrate on cutting vegetables and meat at his job. God forbid we have a deranged chef running around losing sleep.
It's kind of weird. I guess, like, you know, you can kind of, like, our walls are really thin, so, like, certain places you can...
All right.
Certain
y'all be nice now.
or inside, whatever, but I don't know. The place I think you can hear in that neighbor's house, I guess, is, like, the house is, like, the yard. I feel like the yard is the place where you can hear the most things. Like, so if you were going to hear something that happened in that house, it'd probably be the yard. Like, I feel like the sounds inside, I'm guessing, wouldn't carry as much. Just because, like again, I think that yard is sort of like almost an amphitheater set up a little bit. You know, it's like...
Yes, that's why I'm trying to figure out where he is, because you can't see the backyard if you live across the street. So he's got to be in a house or something to the left of the apartment. This is weird. Now he's talking about echoing an amphitheater, which is true. When you're in a backyard and you are partying and laughing, your voice will elevate and it will be like amphitheater. Who the hell is this guy? Because I'm something's off. Something's off to me. Because I want to know exactly where does he stay in proximity to the kid's house. Because when he says up the hill, that makes me feel like he lives low level. Because you don't say up the hill if you live on the hill. Because the hill is the apartment to the right of the kid's house with the yellow shutters, I believe. So if I lived up there, I would say up here. The car's up here parked. I won't say up there if I live up there. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is ridiculous to me. Just put the address in the chat.
You know, it's like,
thank you.
It's up the hill and it's like down a little bit. And then above it is like the parking lot and another hill. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like a medium.
You see how he's talking? He's saying again, up the hill. So that means he does not live up there. Because I'm not going to say up the hill if I live on the hill. This is making me sick. I swear he's the food grub truck. He's wearing the poncho. Von Hoyt, please stop. I swear he's, well, I think somewhere behind the house. Yeah, well, it can't be the apartment building behind the house because he's describing it once again now. And if he lived up there, he's going to say up here where I live. Stay woke. Hold on. 500 Queen Road. Okay. I'll pull it up. Damn, you got the apartment number? This is crazy. Jesus Christ. Okay. Let me Google all that while he's talking.
The hill, so it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like a meteor like hole in a sense. And so like I think probably like, you know, like in the middle the sound probably resonates around.
That makes sense. And you can call me Patches is also saying college towns are just noise sometimes. It's hard to tell what's what. A request for clarification. Back to the SUV one more time that you saw. Can you clarify?
I don't think so.
Confusion in chat. Okay, so you're saying you don't.
I don't know though. I don't. You should go with Ford. I don't know. Ford's not that luxury to me. I don't think I would have noticed that. I mean, it's a nice car, but I don't think it really didn't stand out to me. I don't know. It just stood out to me because, you know, like I drive kind of a sketchy car, and it's kind of decked out, and it's.
Oh, these apartments I saw last night.
I noticed like I've always been into like, you know, cars with like rims and tinted windows and stuff like that, and this was like one of those cars I'd be like, man, probably if I was younger and rich, I probably would have bought it. So I think that's why it stood out to me. But like, yeah, it just you know. It kind of seemed like, you know, either a baller or like.
Okay, they got the wooden ceilings inside.
That's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, that makes sense. What
wood paneling inside?
What's the speculation? Do you talk to neighbors? What are people saying about this? You know,
I'm a hermit. I'm a super hermit. I don't really talk to anyone. I talk to a few of my really old friends. I talk to I hang out with my coworkers sometimes. And most of the time, I'm super busy in my crafts. Like, I don't know.
On now.
And I have like, I don't know.
I gotta get a better view.
There's like a girl I hang out with, and that's about it.
Okay. Does it make you nervous at all that this is unsolved? Do you feel nervous?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
I mean, it's pretty brutal and like, I don't know, thought out killing, I guess. Like, it's like kind of scary, and it also kind of scary that it just happened to some ordinary people. So I think everyone's a little bit spooked now, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I guess in the city, the shit's like semi-normal or whatever, but, you know, like not here, like, I don't know. So I think, I don't know, it's kind of scary that this would happen ever, like, especially in this town.
Thank you for the information. Queen is in the Google search. Ooh. Now, Chef Izzy Kizzy. 500 Queen Road is one of the brick buildings to the right of the property, because I'm looking at the address, and the street runs right up into the building, which is the kids. I could do a 360 right here. They blurred out the house now on Google search of the kids' cars. When you go to Google, the house is blurred out and the cars are blurred out. There's a green garbage can, blue garbage can, Let's swivel around. The drive is right there. And that brick building is there. And as I swivel more, my screen is lighting up 500 Queen Road, number 17. So he lives in the brick building that he keeps saying up the hill. Yes, with the yellow shutters or yellow something on them. Okay. So that's why I kept saying, why does he keep saying up the hill? Because that is the building. So this is confusing. So what part of the building does he live in? Because I see, if I can get this correctly, there's this one part of the building that's sitting directly on the street. But then, of course, you can go up that drive. So what, does he live around that corner to the left? How would he see the kids living in that building? This is where I'm going to have the problem because I can't see with the trees in the way. And I can't see what's behind the trees where the cars are parked in the parking lot to see how he would have a view of the girls if they're on the back side of the property engaging. So what? To the left. Going up the hill to the left, Mel. Delana. See, that's why I want to see the building with the trees out of the way. But I know these cars are parked because it looks like it's fall. When you go up that drive, there's cars parked. So is there another building there that would face the kids' patio? That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me go up this road. I don't think it'll let me go. It won't let me go up the road. He sits in the trees. Susie, please. Susie, I'm trying to stay serious now. Come on. Damn. And this won't let me go up either. This Google won't let me go. Nowhere. It stops right here. See, here's that apartment building I was talking about that's right directly across the driveway from the kids. I said anybody that lives here would have a bullseye view of the kids coming and going. And also the building to the left, little ways, a few yards down. Somebody might be able to sit and look at that one. The one that's blue, baby blue. But definitely the tan colored building that's got the fence and the partition wall and the cylinder blocks by the garbage can. They would have a nice view of the kids coming and going out of those windows there. I need to see this property, and Google will not let me go up this damn hill. Either direction, it won't. This is crazy. I need to see this building. Somebody, please. Brian Enton, please go up this parking lot. I want to see this hill because he went up in the winter in the dark. I need to see it all the way in the parking lot. That's what I need a picture of. Because Google is not letting me go. The arrows are going down past the house. You can't go up the hill. Something's off here. I need to see. There's no way you can see what those kids are doing from this side of this damn building and this hill. The only way you can see is if there's another building where the cars are parked. Something ain't right here. I got to see the back. I got to see this whole parking lot.
Like, especially in this town. So
yeah.
And it's like, it's like you think about it, it's like, what kind of protection can you get in these cases? Like, you can lock your windows, you can put strips and stuff.
You say he's living to the left of the house on the second floor, but he also engages with neighbors because the back parking lot behind the apartment and house is where he juggles his fire sticks. You mean the right of the house if you're going up the hill? I'm confused. Rent Cafe. Okay, hold on. Because you all keep saying left. Because going up the hill, the building is sitting to the right of the property if you're going up the hill. Hold on. God, I don't know what's going on. Just a second, you guys. Rent Cafe. Hold on. I'll put it in front of the address. I'm tired of listening to him talk. He ain't talking about nothing. Because it'd be a shame I'm sitting here listening to a damn killer talk. Now let me see what Rent Cafe is going to show me. Hold on. Yeah, I was looking at the house, but what I'm saying, if I'm looking at the house, is it to my left or to my right if I'm looking at their house? Okay, Jeremy lives in the building right across from the drive to the back parking lot. This new neighbor lives up above him. That's what I thought. That's the first view I was going to, and I was going to say that. I was going to say, wait a minute. This looks like a building that's overlooking the building that sits in front of their apartment. Jeremy lives, there is a drive that runs up the hill between 1122 and the red brick apartment at the top, hidden by trees. There's a drive that runs up the hill. So that must be it. This the brace. Okay. Somebody's going to have to show me because this is pissing me off now. Because I'm probably looking at it and can't get a general idea what the hell I'm looking at. These are the same apartments. It's the same. These are the ones. Because it's got the wooden ceilings. This $500, $895 per month. That's just strange. I can't get an idea. It's weird made. Purple doors, red doors. Weird. Okay. So I see the building. That's to the right of the property. But I'm trying to figure out which building does he live in. That's what I'm trying to understand. Which one? Because it looks like it's two of them. Oh my God, I got 1,000 damn pictures. This is a weird one here. See, I'm looking at the view from a top apartment. This one is overlooking the long building that has the blue dumpster. So that's the building where I'm supposed to be, but I'm trying to figure out which unit, like which one is he in? That's what I'm confused. Because I'm trying to figure out how would he have a view of what they were doing. This is what's throwing me off. Uphill on the left. Okay. See, I want a picture that goes up the drive. That's what I'm looking for. They don't have that. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to see that one drive up the dead ends. Let me see. This ain't taking me what I want. I wish it would Show me something else. Request a tour. I don't want a tour. I'm trying to. I can't see it the way I want to see it. I'll have to try to figure out something else. That's what I'm trying to figure out, but I can't see up the hill. That's what I keep trying to explain to you all. The drive next to the house with these apartments, I can't see up the hill where the cars are parked. I'm trying to get up that street to see the view from up there, which would be the back of the kids' house with their balconies. The Google is not taking me up there. It stops right in front of the building. I don't want to see when you drive up that road that's next to their house, there's a whole parking lot back up there, but basically looks right down into their backyard. See, that's what I'm trying to say. But I need to know where is his apartment pertaining to that. Is there a dumpster up there? Because you got to remember, he acted like he was going to the dumpster. So that's what I'm saying. Is there a dumpster up there? Because that's the only way he would have had contact with the girls from the back side of the house. That's what I'm trying to say. I guess I'll have to finish the interview. Well, thanks for telling me what to do up here. My goodness.
Like, put strips and stuff. You can get a gun, but this dude went in the house and killed them before they could really react. They grab a gun or whatever and left, and not anybody knowing. That's scary. You know what I mean? So thinking about people doing that out, especially on your block, is pretty spooky.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's and thank you. Hello from England. We are so sorry to hear such a horrific crime, they said. Thank you so much. Have you talked to law enforcement since that first day they came over and asked you if you'd heard anything?
Yeah.
Everybody listen to this!
Sorry about that. Oh, Lordy.
Since that first day they came over and asked you if you'd heard anything?
Yeah, I did once.
Once? Did they come over to the neighborhood again to talk to everyone, or did you go talk to them?
No, I wouldn't. I just talked to them later.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us about that, or is that off the record? Okay.
That's off the record, Chef.
Thank you. And by the way, this is a channel where I will ask a lot of questions, but I also respect my guests. For those wondering if something's off the record or you don't ever want to answer, that's all you need to say and we move on. So thank you. You posted on your Facebook. I'm going here, by the way, to my phone to look at questions that I have written for you. And I'm also getting questions over in chat. While I look, you have mentioned on your own social media pages and even posted some of the proof that you've been getting harassed yourself and feeling the wrath of true crime sleuth and speculation. Can you tell us a little bit about that or what you've been going through?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of, it's almost hilarious to me that people think I did it and they're telling me yo, you did it. And it's I don't know. It's kind of the equivalent to flat earth theory to me when I read some of these Reddit conspiracies and shit. I don't know. I've been mostly ignoring it, but sometimes I read it and it gets to me, but I don't know. It's the other time it's just it's almost entertaining to me, but it's a little bit scary too. I'm what are these people trying to get me? But it's whatever.
Yeah. Cheshire Cat is saying, are there cameras in the area? Do you think anyone might have been able to catch anything that happened?
I doubt very many. No, there's not a lot of deaths or break-ins or murders or really anything that happens here. A lot of people leave their doors unlocked, windows unlocked. It's generally pretty safe. Our apartment complex didn't even really have lights in the hallway or cameras until right after. Then they put up some motion sensors and stuff. But there's for the most part, this this neighborhood is like pretty dark, and we kind of, I don't know, I kind of liked it. You know what I mean? It's like at night you kind of go to sleep really easily. But yeah, I don't think very many people have cameras because they don't really feel unsafe in this neighborhood or whatever. Most people know people too, so it's like whatever. Yeah, it's not a really sketchy neighborhood, you know, like just a bunch of college kids. Yeah, I know apparently some of them has had like doorstep neighbors. I know, like, you know, just in the 21st century, a lot of people have like security cameras, so there's like probably some stuff around. But it's like me, like I bought a cam for my car just, you know, in case whatever. But it's like it's been like, you know, like a year and I still haven't put it in my car. So like,
oh wow,
you know, like that's how safe I, you know, it's like I just like never really felt the need to like actually put it up. But now I'm like, I should definitely put that shit up. I wish I had it up now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Would people sleep with their doors open in this town? Is that kind of the
I don't know about that far, but I'm not going to say it's never happened. I accidentally walked into somebody's house because the door was open, and I was trying to go to a friend's house when I was like 17. And I like opened it up, and it was just like some dudes on the couch. I was like, oops. Shut the door back to halfway. I was like, oops. Went to the next house. Like, oh, cool. This is the right one.
It's like did Angel. A lot of people are just asking for confirmation, which I actually really value. As a journalist, I was a television reporter for 10 years. It's really good to hear and see things and then to ask for more confirmation always. So they're asking, is this actually you commenting on Reddit doing the AMA? They want to know that. Yes, this is him. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. Thank you, Sleuth Mom, for reminding people that this is very true. I'm trying to read everything in chat, and some moderators are helping a bit, but I am missing some things. You can send and post something in a super chat or leave something in comment, but I don't know if we'll have the same guest again. So I'll do my best, though, to get to your questions. And thank you again for being here. A lot of thank yous are coming through for you being here and coming forward. Have you heard anything about the alcohol offense at 3 a.m.? Do you know about that? It was behind the Sigma Chi house, and we have body cam footage from that. Do you know anything about that, or?
I haven't. The first I've heard of it. I don't really pay attention to the media or news really at all. You know, I'm a stick juggler. I kind of in my own world most of the time. But yeah, no, I don't, you know, I'm super hermit. I kind of like, I live like one of the most introverted lives you can imagine. But no, I'm curious though. Tell me about it.
Well, it was, and I already have one correction. Thank you to everyone in chat helping me with these little details. It was on the band field. It was about 3 a.m. There's body cam footage now that has come out from it. It was the morning of the murders. So people are, you know, zeroing in on different things they're seeing in the body cam footage that was released, taken on the band field at 3 a.m. And I know that you sometimes hear things, not always. You say you were asleep all night. What time did you go to bed that night, by the way?
I don't know. I'm probably around like 2:30 to 4 a.m. I don't really look at the time after I get at home, so it's all just like an estimate. But you know, that's probably the range based off of the activities I was doing. Yeah.
One more confirmation having to do with SUVs, but now this is about Kaylee's or some. Can you confirm if there was a black Explorer that was parked there daily? It was parked behind a red Jeep inside the crime scene tape. Everybody's sort of.
I don't think it was that one. No, I'm gonna review the footage again, but I don't think it was that one.
Did you see a black Explorer that was parked there daily with crime scene tape around? Or did you notice the vehicle?
Yeah, I
by the crime scene tape?
So. I think I noticed a lot of like dark SUVs, and I just kind of assumed they were like FBI or police or something. But this was like this. I'm pretty sure this other car was different, and it had out of state plates. That's one of the things I noticed about it. I think this one didn't have out of state. The Ford Explorer, whatever. I don't think that had out of state plates. I could be wrong, but this one definitely had. It was like I almost want to say it was Utah, honestly, but. it was like barrenish. It was nice. It was hard to see, but it was like barren, place like deserty. It was like Arizona or Utah, Colorado, Montana. It's like mountainy, maybe. I think it might have been mountainy, but yeah. So those were. I only saw 2 cars that had out-of-state plates. So.
Okay. Julie is asking, genuinely curious. She's not being confrontational, and I can confirm that because Julie's a very curious person. She's curious. Why would an introvert move to a party town? Go ahead. Sorry.
This is the only place I could afford with vaulted ceilings, so I could juggle at home. I need like at least like 10, 11, 12, 13 foot clearance. So it's hard to find. The apartments like that are hard to find anywhere. So you're depending, like the ones with vaulted ceilings are usually like luxury places. So you have to pay like a premium for them. So this was cool. I was living in Pullman, so I was like paying a lot. And I had because of my felonies, I couldn't really move anywhere for 7 years. So after 7 years, I instantly moved into the first place available with vaulted ceilings. And this is where I ended up.
Gotcha. I will admit, I've been admiring the ceilings in the background. They're beautiful. Those wood ceilings.
Yeah, pretty dope place.
Yeah. Miss Wales asked, did the dog bark lots, or did you know? And I think they're referring to.
I did not know the dog. Okay. No, I never met the dog. I didn't know there was a dog until pretty recently, actually. Someone asked me why the dog was spared, and that's the first time I heard about the dog.
Okay. And did you hear any dogs barking ever? Were dogs typically barking in the neighborhood or nothing?
No, not really. Not usually. Pretty decently quiet at night, I feel like. Sometimes I don't know, I usually don't hear a lot of animals, honestly. I feel like if, my cat will maybe make a dog bark every once in a while, but that's about it.
Yeah. Again, our deal here is this is like, consider this like Reddit AMA. You can answer any questions here you want, and you don't have to answer any questions you want. But Jamie is asking, he says, where did it go? Someone is asking, this was not it, but somebody was asking if you wanted to go further. They mentioned you had a felony, and you talked a little bit about this on Reddit AMA. Do you want to go into that now, or?
We had hundreds of people join the USCC.
Ooh, sorry about that. Oh, this is so winded. Lord have mercy.
Well, I don't have 3 anymore. They're expired, so
I'm trying to figure out all this talking.
As of like 3 years ago, so it's been like 10 years. But yeah, I had 3. I had a possession of marijuana, had a possession of MDMA with intent to deliver, and I had a delivery of MDMA.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Oh, and let's see. We lost you for a bit. Are you back?
Yeah.
You're back. Can we hear you? Okay, we can hear you. All right. Thank you, Stephanie B, for reminding everyone that's here to please, if you like these types of interviews, hit like and subscribe. It helps us know what we should continue doing as a channel. And Liz is asking, this is a great question, and I want to take this question a little bit further. She is asking, have there been any normal parties at the Sigma Chi house since the incident, or any parties, or has it been really quiet?
No, I haven't. I haven't really noticed anything since then. But I honestly haven't been really. I haven't been home as much lately on the weekends, but yeah, it's been pretty quiet, honestly. No, because there's definitely no parties at that house recently, and I think there was like maybe one, but I can't really remember anything outside of that. It's been pretty tame recently.
Okay, yeah, has it been quieter around town since this event?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like you have to think about it too. Like the cops are everywhere, right? Like nobody wants to party. Like the cops are like there's like probably like 20 cops parked in like the parking lot next to our neighborhood. Like, and there's like probably like another 5 like in the house like all day. There's always one that's there all night. So it's like I don't think anyone's trying to party with, you know what I mean? Like for whatever reason. So it's kind of funny. I thought they were like, just trying to like speed trap and pull people over for like the first few weeks, but then I realized that they're just nonstop working on this case. So they're always here. But I'm sure people are trying to throw parties with that happening. You know what I mean?
Right. Totally. Liz, thank you. And I want to correct my words. I called what has happened 4 weeks ago an event. What I mean is an absolutely horrendous crime and tragedy. Forgive my sometimes not the best words I use. I don't mean to. Lives can be hard while I'm multitasking with chat. There was a great question from Julie Holden. I don't see it now, but essentially, has the restaurant you work in, without telling us what that restaurant is, has it been quieter?
No, it's. I mean, people can't stop telling me about the conspiracy theories, and it's actually been providing a little bit of humor in these times because they're pretty hilarious individuals. So like, I don't know, they just keep like making fun of these new conspiracies, and so it's been an interesting time for sure. For the first week, it was really quiet. I didn't say like probably like really anything for the first few days. Like I was at work after it happened, but after a few weeks, it's starting to get better. I don't know. I have the other day I was thinking about it and I was pretty quiet, but I've been trying to I don't know. It's best to just try not to think about it, right now. But it's hard also because like we're surrounded by it everywhere. But
right. Yeah. Speaking of speculations, you live in the neighborhood, which means there was somebody that did this. Do you speculate without naming names? We don't want to name any names or anything or identify people on our channel, but do you ever speculate about who could have possibly done this?
I mean, for sure, but no one fits the bill. Honestly, when I think about all my neighbors, I'm just like, no way. Like everyone, I think, even like, who might kill them at the slightest inconvenience is just completely irrational and ridiculous. Like when I think about any like individual personally, like any personal like neighbor, like anyone in this area, I'm just like, there's no way. Like they're all like pretty normal people. They all got their own shit going on. To think of them doing this is just absurd. But
so with that being said, what none of your neighbors fit the bill. What type of person do you think this might have been? What it was?
I'm looking into I don't know if it's true, but I was looking into a report that said it was like almost a blunt, heavy object, and a really strong person did it. I'm kind of imagining like maybe like a hunter dude, like some like super mentally ill dude who's maybe experienced with hunting, who has like some type of like farm blunt stabbing object, and just like really waited patiently until everything was really quiet. Like maybe he knew about this weekend was being quiet and then went in there and did it. But I don't know. It's like, it's so bizarre. Like nothing, it's hard to think about it because I think the first thing I try to think about is a motive, and that's like, it just draws me into a bunch of blanks. So yeah. But
all right, they're about done, I guess.
So yeah, but I mean, there's like, there's surrounding areas that have a history of lead poisoning. So like,
we lost you for a bit, or at least on my end. If you want to I'm going to try to refresh this and see while we can see if we get him back to ask him more questions. Somebody's asking if he was paid for this interview. Absolutely not. This was something I requested, and he willingly did as volunteer. He is not being paid, and Hidden True Crime has never paid for an interview. Nor have we been paid for an interview we've done. Let's see. I'm going to try to remove and bring him back. Nothing. Chef Dizzy, if you can hear me, try refreshing. We'll wait for a little bit longer. I am seeing chats. They are going very, very fast. stick with me here to see if we might have fully lost him now. But again, we'll wait for a little bit and see if he can't get back on the link. Correct. Thank you, Colette. He was not compensated. He did not barter, and he did not ask for anything in exchange for this interview. And then again, I want to go further. While my husband and I have been doing interviews with News Nation, today I did one with Inside Edition and some other places that haven't aired any interviews. We have never been paid for any interviews we have done. We believe in the journalistic process and all sharing what we know to help. I think we might have genuinely lost him. I'm going to just check my messages to see if he's writing anything, and we'll go from there.
Lead poison. You guys are killing me. It's an odd response, I must say. No different than a conspiracy. That's a very odd response.
I don't see any messages from him. I'm going to check one other place. We've been messaging a couple of places. He's not messaging there either. So I think we might have lost him. Perhaps. Oh yeah, some great questions coming in. Perhaps we'll have him on again. Everyone was
for what?
Really respectful and asked great questions. Perhaps he'll join us again.
I'm telling you nothing.
Until then, I want
speculation
to
and this
share
and that. All the same.
You can follow my husband and I here. We're going to do another Friday night live. We call them hidden hours about the Moscow murders. And we hope for justice.
Honey,
this is a horrendous crime. And the more we learn, the worse it gets. I hope everyone's taking care of their mental health, everyone that's following this, because I'm going to be honest, it's affected mine. In addition to that, there are some wonderful groups to follow. I'm in a lot of them. I want to let you know that one group I really appreciate that's following this case intensely.
Oh my God, you are sick.
True Crime Underground. Oh, it starts with Idaho 4, True Crime Underground. That's a Facebook group.
I'm going to stop there. I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense. I don't know. I'm not saying who's done what. My head hurts. Just a lot of gibberish at this point. I just pray that something comes about. Because this is just a bad situation all the way around. Let me see what else has come up. Then I'm going to get out of here. I'm already 3 hours over. This is a very long live for anybody to have to watch. But this is a horrific situation. I'm trying to see if there's anything. They're still talking about the stalker and the vape shop manager. That's the latest, been uploaded by News Nation an hour ago. I don't know if I want to hear this person's commentary. Idaho 4, new 3D animation killer's perspective. Dear God, that don't sound good. She's on right now, 2,000 watching. The psychologist profiles evil in Moscow, Idaho case. They're on now, she and the husband. Let's see what this fool has to say here. I'm probably going to regret playing this. Then I'm getting out of here because it's almost 4 hours. Let's see.
Investigates on YouTube. Make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. I am continuing to work on the 3D model of the house at 1122 King Road, which is the location that 4 college students were brutally murdered back on November 13th, 2022, sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. Ethan Chapin, who was 20 years old, Zena Kernodle, who was also 20, Madison Mogan, 21, and Kaylee Gonsalves, also 21, were apparently sleeping in the house and were attacked, according to the coroner. Zena and Ethan are presumed to have gotten home at around 1:45 a.m., and Kaylee and Madison arrived home at approximately 1:56 after being at the Corner Club and the grub truck, and they got a ride home, and they got home at 1:56, and apparently were still awake at around 2:52 after Kaylee and Madison made numerous calls to Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, from 2:26 until 2:52. So we know that they were still awake. There were also 2 other roommates that are presumed to be home at around 1 o'clock. And all law enforcement says is that they got up in the late morning. Early on, we heard that they heard noises and locked their doors. I think the roommates heard and perhaps even saw a lot more.
Oh, did it, Mary? I didn't know.
Being told at this point. A few days ago, I did a poll on which route inside the home people thought the most likely route was that the killer took inside the house, given 3 choices. The 3 choices were that the killer entered the sliding glass door, went to Zana and Ethan's room first, then up to Madison's room second, and then out the sliding glass door. The second one is that the killer went in, I don't know which order I had it in the video, but these are the 3 options.
Oh, what she
The killer
said
goes through the
already?
sliding glass door, goes up to Madison's room first, kills Zana and Ethan second, then goes out the first floor front door because there's a witness out there that says that front door was open at 8:30 a.m. on the 13th. Now, does that mean that the killer exited the front door? We don't.
Let me say this. Could be possible to what he's saying, and I'm going to tell you why. You're not going to know about the first floor entrance unless, one, you came through the front parking lot and went around to the right of the building and walked to the back to get in one of the windows, second floor, the third floor. So if you killed the kids last, the couple, it would make sense to go out of the first floor as well, because that side of the wall is closest to the low partition wall that goes down to the first floor. And that's why I told you, if that room is, how am I trying to explain this? The room that's on the other side of the kitchen wall on the second floor, if that is the actual room where they were, that is closest to the living room that's got the partition wall that goes down to the first floor. So he could have easily killed them if they were in that room second, and then went down the stairs and out through the front door. And I brought you that visual in the tour. So it still doesn't make sense, even if he went out to the first floor from that way, closest to that room, closest to the living room and the partition wall, why he wouldn't have seen 2 locked rooms downstairs. Or was he just in a hurry, scared? What? I don't know. It's all bizarre to me. Because if I'm killing everybody, why am I not rambling in these 2 girls' rooms downstairs? I'm killing everybody in the damn house. Why were these 2 saved? You have to ask that, because this is not a basement floor. If you take the tour, you will see it's not a basement. The first floor, ground level, where the kids park their cars. So why are these other kids dead and these other 2 girls are not? Make it make sense to me.
Don't know. We have no idea what that means, but it does open the possibility of that happening. The other
But you're seeing going in the house anyway, Carrie.
Door into the kitchen. Went upstairs in Madison's room.
Let me say this. If the person came from the front street, they would risk being seen anyway. That's the whole point of the story. We don't know how they went in. If they came from that parking lot, from that building where this nut lives, jumped the fence from one of those houses. See, we don't know. We don't know. The house that sits at the right of the drive, if you're coming up Queen Street to the right, there's 2 houses right in there. We don't even know where they came from. That's the problem. But in the end, you still had to get out of there, so you could be risk seeing whether you jumped the fence, you came from that apartment building. How do you know somebody's not up watching, going to their trash can, coming in the drive? Let's say you parked your car on that drive, going downward. People are coming in and out partying. You don't think your car would be noticeable parked in the drive instead of a parking space? It's strange to me. All this is strange. Because either way, however the killer came, you could still be seen some type of way, whether you're at the back of the house, jumping a fence, the brick building apartment, walked straight up to the front parking lot and went around the back. How do you know who's looking and who has a doorbell camera? See, that's the gist of this story. We don't know. I don't know.
And killed Madison and Kaylee. Then went downstairs to Zena and Ethan's room and killed both of them. And then exited back out that same sliding glass door in the kitchen. And that makes sense because that area of the house is more hidden from going out the front door. So if you went in through the back, upstairs, and then out, and then downstairs, and then out the back door, that makes the most sense. Okay, so here is a model, and I think I'm offering a perspective now that it makes it a lot easier for you to see what's going on here. Right, I'm going to remove the third floor completely at this point, and the ceiling of the second floor kitchen area so that you can see how the person may have came through the house and moved around. Okay, so you'll be able to see it. There's these little bounding boxes on the character, but you should still be able to watch it. All right, so here we go. Let me play it. So here comes the killer. I just have a generic character. He comes through the kitchen and then up the stairs. And then after going up the stairs, we can put the floor on up there. And now you notice now, once he made it up the stairs, I put the floor on the third floor, goes into Madison and Kaylee's room and kills both of them. Then goes down the stairs. And now you'll be able to see him come down the stairs and then through to floor 2A, which goes over to Zena and Ethan's room. So this killer seemed to know exactly where they were going in this house. It goes back to floor 2B, which is a little drop down right there, and then exits through the kitchen, out the sliding glass door. Now I attached a light and a camera to the head of that character there.
Now that's crazy.
And that's the video that you'll be seeing here in a little bit. Something to notice also is that this bedroom of Zena and Ethan is absolutely directly above one of the surviving roommates, which is right here.
Yes, that's that back room.
Door. Those are those
that's what they thought they said. Okay, so that's why I said.
Second floor, and then another roommate lives in this room right here. Okay, now to get to that,
he had to go look for them.
Once you enter this door, you take a left around that hallway there.
So this is the bedroom, like they said, facing the survivor's room at the top, which would be facing the street. That means when he first came in, if he came in on the second level, that he walked through the kitchen. There's a bedroom facing the kitchen near the stairs that would go up to the third level. He had to have gone in there first, would you think? But he didn't have to go in there if he knew where he was going. So then you have to ask yourself, you can't see that room because it's around the corner from the kitchen. This is how I know he had to have known there's a first floor because it's a low-bearing wall. Even in the dark, you can see that it's a low-bearing wall. And you'd have to ask yourself, okay, where's that going? Let's say if I've never been in the house. So if I could look over and see, there's doors down there. Front door, a laundry room door, and 2 bedrooms. This is some strange stuff. Lord have mercy. I'm just bewildered.
And that leads you to another bedroom over there. This roommate here surely heard some noises directly above them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Of this room and the one below are almost identical.
Yes.
And I would have a hard time believing that if there was a...
Thank you. Yes, somebody. Oh. The surviving roommate. Where to believe that is the actual room where they died. The kids, the couple. It sits directly above her room. Ethan's a big guy. The girl, smaller weight. You mean to tell me even if he fell out in the hallway, they're struggling? You don't know if they bumped into the wall. Each guy slamming each other into the wall. Come on now. Please make it make some sense. And this girl's lying on the wall bleeding out. She had to have fallen or been thrown up against the wall. You got to be in somebody deep sleep, man, not to hear the altercation on the second floor. And as I told you all, the house is open all the way through. The second floor has a load-bearing wall that if you leaned over, you could fall over and jump over it and hit the stairs. That's how open it is. That's why I asked you to take the tour on my community page and my channel. You'll see, as soon as you walk in the house, the stairs are to the left. You walk up the stairs. You're now in the second floor living room. When you make that right around that wall, that's a low-bearing wall. There's no way if you're in that house, you don't know that those stairs go down to a first floor, which is the ground level. And then as that young guy, that man was saying on News Nation and Law and Crime, oh man, this is crazy to me. The more I think about this case, I get pissed off because this is bullshit. How can you not hear something? Because the spaces are open. Yes, they listen with their opinions. Yes. It's no way you can't hear from that first floor to the second. Because as he said, they're directly above one another. And the staircase opens up to an open space. And your room is also directly underneath the victim's room. You had to have heard something bumping, slashing, something. Because she's dead on the floor. So how you want me to believe he politely lied her on the floor? And I'm not trying to be rude or nasty to anybody that survived. I'm just saying, when people are struggling for their life, you want me to believe they're not making any noise. I don't believe that. No. You literally have to be one, went in, choked her out. But she still landed on the floor. And Ethan is 6'3". That's a lot of weight hitting the floor. And I'm sure he fought and struggled. I would assume, I'm going to say I assume, no way you're not going to hear 6'3" of weight, 250 or more in weight falling on the floor. Oh, man, this is bad. Don't want to assume anything to be nasty, but, man, this is crazy to me.
One's life. It sounds like Zena tried to defend herself. There would have had to been yelling and screaming, and perhaps that's what the roommate heard and thought it was just party, okay? So let me play this one more time here for you. All right, so the killer comes through the sliding glass door and then up the U-shaped staircase right there. And then once at the top of the staircase, left is Kaylee's room. Now, he might have tried that door, looked in and saw that, oh, wow.
Nobody in there.
And then went to Madison's room and found them in there. Mm-hmm. So he killed them. Then he exits Madison's room, goes down the U-shaped steps.
Yes.
Then once gets down to the, I think it's the
second
2B.
Yeah.
Goes on to floor 2A, takes a hard left, and then goes into Zena's room, kills Zena and Ethan, then exits that room. And
well, see, where I have a problem with that is, as I said, if they died in the room directly facing the street, the parking lot, that's around the corner. That would be a room you would go to second, not first. Because when you come down the stairs from the third floor, there's a room sitting right there to the right. Why would I not look in that room first? Because you see that room before you go around the corner. Because allegedly they died in the room around the corner from the kitchen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You hear a toilet flushing and every damn thing else. That's the truth. I don't know. He's got it. I think he's got it backwards going here. I don't know. This is just, man, this is so puzzling. This is bad.
And as you see right here, takes a right, goes back to floor 2B, takes a right, and goes into the kitchen area and exits back through the sliding glass door.
2B. Let me give you a Christmas. Sorry that. I don't know. Seemed like I would go in this first room, coming down the stairs to the right, coming from the third floor. I would go look in there first because that's the first room sitting there. And then I go in that room, I don't see anybody. Then I would go out of the kitchen to my left. That's that room outside, allegedly where they died. The kids, the guy and the girl. I don't know. This is strange.
Right now, a video that has the light on the head of the individual, and it also has a camera on the head, so you get a perspective of being looking through the individual's eyes that is walking. In this case, I turned off all the lights in the house and made the only light the one that's on the head of this individual, almost like it's a flashlight, but I didn't really animate it.
Yeah, like in that scary movie.
Wiggling it around. It's more
Coal
like
miner's light
on this person's head. And before you go, can you make sure you hit that like button, share, and subscribe? I'd really appreciate it. All right? And here you go.
Yeah, this is scary here, the way he's got this made. Creepy as hell. Entering room 1 at the top. Going back down the stairs. Now, see right there, there's a room right there. See, he didn't go in that room. His version. They went to the side room. That would make no sense to me unless I knew Ethan and her were in that room. Why would I bypass the room closest to coming down the stairs from the 3rd floor? Lord have mercy. This gives me the jeepers. Possibly, yeah. He saw him. He was out. I think he heard something. He possibly went upstairs first, and Ethan came out. That's a good assumption. Lord Jesus. So no way he doesn't see those stairs going down to the 1st floor. How could you miss them? With a low-bearing wall. And go back out to the kitchen to leave. When you could just walk out the front door down these stairs. Because he had to come out that room with those kids. The stairs are right there to the 1st floor. Wow. I'm going to cut it here, you guys. Gray Hughes Investigations, I guess that's the name of this channel. He gives an animated perspective. You're entitled to your opinion. I don't know what happened in this house. I don't know who was a target, a house target, who was intended target, if the kids, the couple were collateral damage. I don't know. And it's depressing thinking about it because in the end, 4 people lost their lives 9 times out of 10 over foolishness. There was no reason to kill those kids. You have to tell us they did something just really horrible. You felt justified in killing these kids. And people have horrible things happen to them all the time, and they don't murder people. You're welcome, sweetheart. This is a baffling case. And that's the one in the chat said, there'll be another murder tonight while you sleep and slumber. Go out and have fun with your friends, family, party, whatever you get into. On the weekend, somebody's also sitting right now plotting the death of somebody else. There'll be another true crime. There'll be another missing kid, dead kid, missing person, dead person. That's the gist of the story. That there'll be another homicides. There'll be another mass shooting. There'll be another homicide, suicide. Because there are ill people here. And they have no love for anybody. And tragically, these children were snuffed out at a very young age. 2021 is young. They haven't even begun to see the world, experience the world. No different than a 20-month-old baby. He didn't get to see his second birthday because of a monster bio donor and trifling grandmother and whomever else rode the ride. We're in desolate times. This is why I tell you have to be careful and be aware of your surroundings and the company you keep, because you do not know people. You do not know who is out here watching you. People who do not like you, do not care for you, and do not mind snuffing you out. People are snuffed out every day for the most mundane of reasons. Please check out my extensive library of 1,700 plus videos. Earlier, I did a live stream pertaining to the murder of Frederick Black, 62 years of age, African-American male, killed outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. Who did it and why? And why is the killer still free? A crime that took place a couple of months. TBI is currently investigating this murder. What happened to Frederick Black? Somebody knows the truth. Small town, small secret. Who's the killer? Who are the people that allegedly went in the house and stole goods and stepped over a dead man with two big, gigantic dogs inside? Were they roaming around the small house, or were they locked in a room? When I get a chance one day, I will give you a tour of the said location where the murders took place. If I can ever get the chance to get out to the said location and maybe see, I don't know if the owner will let me give a visual of the house inside. We will see. Because right now I believe it is empty, the house, which I don't know why anybody would want to live there. Of course, I talked to the owner a few weeks ago, and she said somebody was interested in renting the house. Why this person would want to rent the house is a mystery to me, because I would not want to rent the house. I would not want to rent the house. There's no dollar amount she could give for me to rent a house where somebody was murdered inside. This is crazy to me. But, hey, some people don't care. Frankly, I'd sell the whole damn house. I'd sell the house. It has an omen now. If you'd like to donate to this great network, Everyday Shenanigans, $DeGanchi, 129 Cash App. Happy holidays to everybody. Be safe when shopping, posting things to social media. Please be very careful what you post to social media. There's always people lurking and watching. Thank you for following the content. Please, once again, check out my extensive library. I have many videos for your entertainment and speculations. Prayers to the families of these 4 students, friends. Praying for a resolution that the killer is caught, or killers. This live stream was pertaining to if this was a woman or man that committed this crime. Many fame whores and people making up stuff, allegations, meddling, internet junkies, white Elantra, CCTV footage, open door, closed door. A lot of speculations. What is the truth to what happened in that house? Who knows what? Vape shop manager speaking. Video of a gas station. View of a car going by. Possible car. Don't know anything really, because that picture's blurry. Is it the same car that they're looking for? Who gave the tip to the Elantra? That's what I'd like to know. Who gave the tip to the white car? Where was it parked in proximity to the house? Up on that hill where those apartments are? In front of the house, across the street near the dumpster? Sitting on the drive coming from those apartments? Where was the car? What's the deal about the black SUV this guy's talking about, or is it nothing? Who is he and what is his goal in this storyline? Because originally he posted he didn't hear anything when the news got out that the kids had died. So why is he now changing his story? Is he also a fame whore? Immersing himself in a case that is macabre. The Queen is finally getting to watch this crazy Jeffrey Dahmer mess on Netflix. I've treated myself to some streaming apps today for my entertainment. We will see how it goes. That's why I'm doing back-to-back lives today, so I can enjoy my weekend and not indulge in anything pertaining to YouTube. I gotta give it a break. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Mind the children. Know that one phone call could save a life. Thank you all so much for following the information. God bless all of you. Please be safe. No one is exempt from being a victim. If you're not home to get your packages, make sure somebody's there to pick up your parcels from UPS, FedEx. Keep all doors and windows locked. All parcels in your trunk, not your car seat or floorboards. And once again, be very careful what you post to social media, because all those fine decorations and presents under the tree is telling people what's in the house or what they assume is in the house. You have to be very careful today. Everybody is not your friend. And it doesn't matter who is smiling in your face, your neighbors, whomever. There is a wolf in sheep's clothing. There is a wolf in sheep's clothing in your midst. You just have not figured out who it is yet. There's always a wolf. Believe that. And sometimes we know the wolf. We just continue to deal with him any damn way. Be very careful. These children didn't deserve this. And I pray that this Elantra will be the key to solving this crime, because this is horrific. And I also will bring you an update to the woman found in international waters down in Tampa Bay. That was one of my other earlier lives. And then Frederick Black, 62. That was the live after that. And then this last live is pertaining to the Idaho 4 student slayings. I think this case has affected me just about as bad as Eliza Fletcher out of Memphis, Tennessee. There was something sinister about her case that has just shook me to my core and made me sick to my stomach. And I think what shook me the most about Eliza Fletcher's case is that she was a true crime fan. And what you have to think about is that here's a woman listening to podcasts probably while she was running, because she was an avid runner, and she died running. That's how she got kidnapped. So one would wonder, did she have earbuds in her ear when this nasty being shoved her into his SUV that belongs to a girlfriend, lady friend, whomever. So that case has bothered me, that he would kidnap her and brought, it was late in the morning, but still it's in public. And I have not been the same since covering that case out of Memphis, Tennessee. And now here comes this case out of Idaho. It makes my stomach turn. Because whenever a person is bold enough to come in your house, listen to me good. When a person is bold enough to come in your house where you eat and sleep and bathe, they are letting you know they have no regard for you, because it is bodacious to go into somebody's house and kill them. It is one thing, crime of opportunity in the street, carjacking, snatch a purse, rob somebody at gunpoint. But the day you go into somebody's house, whether it's random or not, target or not, you are brazen. Because you're saying, I'm taking everybody out on sight. when you decide to walk up in somebody's house with a weapon. And the fact that he used a knife is even more baffling to many people who cover true crime. FBI agents, detectives, a lot are stunned that a knife was used, not a gun. And what will be interesting if we find out that this was a serial killer and his MO is possibly another means, such as strangulation, gunshot, and he changed up, because some serial killers will change the MO as not to be apprehended. Is this the work of a serial killer or a beginning serial killer? We will see. Prayers for Moscow, Idaho, and the kids that are attending school, those who have decided not to return, faculty, staff, the great people of Moscow, police department, FBI agents, sheriff, state police, all those aiding in the search for this killer. And once again, prayers to the families. And God be with you. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. You all have a wonderful weekend.